welcome to my world and welcome to the homestead. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Monday, October 9th. We are here live. We are at the homestead for the first time for a live broadcast. If you were listening last night, we did a test here from the homestead. I replayed last Wednesday's show. So if you were listening to last Wednesday's show last night, that originated here. It was just a test to make sure the internet would hold up. It passed with flying colors. So we are here live today. Phone lines are open. Looks like calls are already starting to come in. We will... Oh, you know what? I might have a problem. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to hear anything coming back to me. And I better figure out why not. There we go. I got it. I knew something sounded funny there. I think we got it, though. So, we are live. The number to join us, 855-950-3835. I have a couple things I wanted to talk about, but calls are already starting to come in, so I'll get to them pretty quickly. Go ahead and jump in and join us. It is a free-for-all today. We've got no theme. We have no guests. We have 3 hours to answer your questions or talk about whatever is on your mind. So jump in and join us. One of the things I'm noticing an awful lot of, more so than I can remember in a very long time, unions really seem to be striking a lot all of a sudden. The UAW strike looked like they may have figured a few things out. I remember last week reading several articles that Mack Trucks was not going to be on strike over this. It looked like they were almost at an agreement, except now they're not. Mack Truck is, UAW is striking at Mack Trucks. They rejected the contract. So we've got that going on. There just seems to be an awful lot of strikes here in this country. And it's not just here. The UK ports, the United Kingdom, it looks like they may strike as well. Now, I don't remember this, but they did strike. The UK ports were on strike in the summer and fall of 22. And I don't remember that. I guess it did affect our supply chain. Some companies, they mentioned Ford specifically, was really hurt by it. So it just more interruptions in the global supply chain that we need to keep an eye on as well. And like I said, an awful lot of strikes going on. The rates are continuing their weird drop. Right now, the difference between the spot market and the contract rate is really wide. Really wide, much wider than normal. But we're heading into the bidding season right now. I have a feeling we're going to watch contract rates start to drop. This is when it would happen. Many of those rates are still the old contracts that were negotiated last year. So now we're getting ready to negotiate new contracts. It's the bid season coming up. So I think we'll start to see the contract rates drop as well. So this spread should close up some. Not that that's a good thing, but it's just what we expect to happen. What else do I have? Oh, this is another one we need to keep an eye on. The Department of Labor is getting very close towards canceling the Trump-era independent contractor rule. So during Trump's term, we got a pretty good reading on the independent contractor rule. Good for small business, good for independent contractors. This Department of Labor doesn't like that. They don't want independent contractors. They want employees that they can control. And that's what they're going to be pushing for. So it looks like they're about to reverse this one, and then we will go back to the prior ruling, the one we were under for years, which is very confusing. And so the attack on the independent contractor model is definitely continuing. We need to keep an eye on that as well. Other than that, I don't think I had a whole lot. So I think I will get to the calls. Today is all about you and what you want to talk about. If you have a question, a comment, a topic, pick up the phone and join me. Let's get started. Let's go to Virginia. Paul, welcome to the program.
Howdy.
What's on your mind today?
Mirror eye camera system. So I left home on Saturday afternoon, and I left a little bit later than what I planned. So I was cruising at a faster speed than I normally do, but I was still 7-8 miles an hour below the Texas speed limit. So that's fast enough for me. So
yeah, exactly.
I catch up to a Maverick truck, and I come up beside him, and it's like I can see the screen on the A-pillar as I'm coming up there beside him. And I was like, shit, I can see my truck coming up beside him and his screen.
Oh, really?
Like, that's pretty cool right there. Yeah, it was the first time I've passed one at night.
Yeah, interesting.
I've seen it at the Louisville Truck Show and everything.
Right.
And then I get up beside him and I look across and I can see the screen. So I'm in the left lane, he's in the right lane, and I look across and I can see the mirror eye, the screen on the right-hand pillar.
Oh, right.
And I can see down the right-hand side of his truck, plain as day.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's how good that system is, boy, because ain't no way you'd be able to look across someone's truck and look in their mirror and see at night time and see down the side of their truck.
Right.
So I was pretty impressed, and it's like, wow, that's pretty impressive right there. So for all the non-believers out there that think that mirror eye, that shit's no good, you're wrong.
I kind of think the same thing. It's going to take us a while to get used to it. I don't think it'll take long, though. I think within a couple hours of driving one of these things, you're going to be pretty used to it. It's not that different, really. It's just better. I didn't study this one. Does this one track the back of the trailer when you're backing up?
I think as you like, I think it keeps an eye on the as edge. You go around the corner or you're backing it sort of follows it round a little bit. I think I'm not
I think so too.
Sure,
I know I looked at one system that it would track the back edge of the trailer, so as you're backing in, you're not just staring at the side of your trailer the way you would be in a mirror. Right.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does that, but I was pretty impressed and surprised, and it's like, well, I can see down the right hand side of his truck.
Yeah,
and his
that's
screen
crazy.
Better than I can see down between us and my mirror.
Right. Right. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, we were. I guess we were just a little ahead of our time when we built the first signature truck. I tried to get approval for this. What a nightmare. I hate working with the government. I probably should have hired somebody to try doing it. I couldn't get anywhere. Couldn't get an answer from anybody on.
Their answer would have been, we'll have to look into that.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, like a mirror. We'll look into it. We're not sure that's safe. We'll have to do an investigation and spend a whole lot of your tax money to find out.
Yeah, and here we are now 15 years later. And we're finally starting to see it. And it took big companies to get it done. We weren't going to get any traction with the FMCSA.
Yeah, you're fighting against thunder. So.
Yeah. But that's pretty cool.
So I'm on my northern expedition headed for, got 3 deliveries today in Pennsylvania and Virginia, and then I'm headed to Saxonburg for tomorrow. So.
Oh, good. So how's the strike affecting things with you guys so far?
I haven't noticed anything where I am, but a guy I talked to, and he lives in Ohio, and he was doing a lot of work out of Toledo. Well, that sort of dried up, and then they called. He went off to do something else, and then they called him. Oh, yeah, we'll probably have some loads this week. And then he went back over there, and he got a couple of loads, and it's not going to have anything, but some General Motors stuff, but it's made in Mexico, and it gets railed up there on the train. And he heard about that, and he went in and got a load, went and delivered it. Didn't go too far, a couple of 100 miles, and then he went back to get another load. He got back there, it was multi-stop, and he got back there the next day, and he said there was a bunch of trucks in there, and a lot of them were from the same company I'm leased to, and he said within a couple of days, he said there was probably 1,000 units, and poof, they were all gone. So people their normal stuff that they were doing that's not there now, and it's like, well, we've got to find something for the guys to do. So they snagged up all this other stuff from another carrier,
right?
Who don't have enough trucks to do. Yeah, they have a lot of work, but they don't have enough trucks. So they probably put as much stuff on subhaulers as they move themselves. So
that's what we're going to see. Like I said, the striking thing seems to be getting worse, not better. The unions all over the place seem to be going out on strike. Teachers unions, the UAW, the ports. There's just
the health.
Yeah, that's right. That's right here where we are. Big healthcare strike here in Oregon and Washington. More so than I remember in a long time. I don't remember this kind of striking going on and it seems like it's been like 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's weird. I don't know how this is going to affect all the other goofy stuff going on in our economy. It's just hard to say. And it seems like I have a feeling, unless there's something going on that I'm just not aware of, some black helicopter stuff, but it seems like the logical reason that unions are striking right now is because of inflation. I mean, that would seem to me if there's a normal explanation, it would just be that prices are up everywhere and unions are saying, look, our contract needs to keep up with this.
So it's kind of funny that apparently Joe Biden, he's the president for the unions, and maybe a lot of those union members voted for their president and they got what they voted for. So
maybe they
should have paid attention to the details.
Yeah, maybe they think they've got the power to strike now. And here's part of the problem, though. These are big unions that could have a big impact on our economy. And if everybody's contract goes up the way UPS did, I mean, UPS negotiated a pretty strong contract this time. I have to believe that just adds to inflation.
Yeah, well, if the price of everything that you buy goes up.
Right. And it has to if big unions are negotiating better contracts, more wages, more benefits, the cost of things goes up.
Yeah, my cost of living's gone up. You need to give me a raise. Okay, we'll give you a raise, but we're going to put our prices of those products up that you buy or make. So it's a vicious circle.
Yeah.
So, right, I'll let you get to someone else. So
all right,
have fun.
Good stuff. So far, the technology seems to be holding up well. Pleasantly surprised. I have to say, I am just a fan of Starlink. Pretty impressive company. This is my second time working with Starlink. The year before, I think. I bought the Starlink for the coach, and I was kind of moving it back and forth, but I had that permanently installed on the coach. So out here in the homestead, this is about our only option is satellite. We do have decent 5G here. It's kind of odd when you're heading here and you leave the last small town before you get here, you lose cell signal completely for several miles. And we thought that was going to be a problem out here. We could have solved it probably with internet calling, but for some reason, even though there is nothing beyond us, we end up with a 5G signal here on the homestead. So it's kind of nice. That's working well. And the Starlink, I am really impressed with. My first attempt, I had one problem, and it was a fairly big problem. One of my cables, they use very proprietary cables. You can't buy these cables anywhere else. They're only from Starlink themselves, proprietary connectors. And one of them, the design was just a little odd, and the cable ran through the mount itself. So if you wanted to take the satellite, and these satellite dishes, if you haven't seen one, they're not very big. They're not very big at all. If I had to guess, maybe like 20 4 inches by 12 across, and they're not a dish; they're a rectangle. They're pretty small, so you can just carry it around. It's really light. But you had to leave the cable connected through the mount and carry the mount around. Otherwise, every time I took the cable off, I couldn't get it to feed back in there right. That was the only negative I had to the entire experience with Starlink the first time. And the second time, they fixed that. Whole new design on the cable now, much, much better. So I don't know that there wasn't anything negative about this experience. I've never set up new internet so easy ever. You take the stuff out of the box. They have this cool mounting system to put it up on the roof. So I actually have mine up on the roof of the greenhouse with a long cable running to the house because that's the best spot for reception, and it seems to be working great. So very happy with Starlink. If you are not happy with your internet, look at Starlink as an option. It works anywhere. Pretty cool. All right, let's get to some more phone calls. Let's go to Missouri. Jerry, welcome to the program.
Hi, Kevin, and thanks for asking. I'm doing great today because I've already had a couple of dollops of the pumpkin spice nut butter on some monkey brittle. I'm just doing great. Thanks for asking.
Good. I can almost smell the clove from here.
Oh, it's wonderful, isn't it? So, to follow through on Paul's comment about those mirrors, any Maverick truck I've ever passed, they're not fully committed yet because they do still have mirrors on the trucks. They've all got those cameras up there and they've got the screen on the pillar, but they do still have mirrors. I don't think they're quite committed yet.
Not ready to jump into the deep end.
No, doesn't look like it. I find it amusing that anyone I've ever passed still has the mirrors on it. So, I'd love to talk to the driver and ask them if they're looking at the camera screen or the mirror, which one they're preferring.
I almost think if I were to do this, I would not want the mirrors there. Just get rid of them. It seems to me like it would almost be confusing, to your brain. It would want to keep looking at the mirror because it's there. So I guess the Maverick drivers are running around with training wheels.
Yeah, there you go. So, good point. I got a question about fuel gauges, Kevin, and I guess you understand that I am a newbie at using this fuel gauges.
Okay.
I've only got 2,714 tickets with 2,194,000 miles entered, so I'm just a newbie, and
Do you really?
Having trouble struggling to understand it. Yeah, I'm serious.
Wow.
2,714 fuel tickets for 2,194,279 miles.
I wonder if that's a record. We should probably go in. If Aaron's listening, maybe he could go in. Yeah.
Matt might be a little over me because he started, and I know I explained it one other time, is I am just so hesitant to accept technology, so I actually started at the beginning of a year rather than right when you introduced it.
Okay.
Because I wanted to start at the end of a quarter, the end of a year, so I started it on January 1st of, what year would it have been, 2010 maybe?
Sounds about right.
I'm not sure.
That sounds about right.
Because I waited, and just as a sidebar to know how foolish I really am, is I had developed a paper form that basically did the same thing as fuel gauges, but it did all the calculations by hand. I made lines and I made squares and I got it all made up. Then I took it to a printer and had them all printed up on a pad so I could use one per month. And I continued to use my hand-calculated paper forms for probably at least 2 years after I started fuel gauges because I couldn't believe that the fuel gauges would be right. I just did them side by side for that long.
That's awesome.
I just couldn't trust the technology. But anyway, so I've been tracking this for a long time. And here's my problem is that I get the NASTC fuel discount, so I never know to the penny what my actual net cost is until the next day, and I get my email. And my time, I guess I'm not going to say it's valuable, but it's just the fact that I want to do it once and do it right, so I do it all on the computer after the fact. Now, here's my problem is that lately I've been having a problem, and I want to know what to do about it. If I get to that entry screen and I get all the information entered on that entry screen and you click on Save Fuel Up, that little gear will go round and round and round and round and round, and then maybe it'll save the fuel up. Sometimes that little gear goes round and round and round and round and round and never, and then it'll go back to save fuel up. You hit it again, and it'll go round and round and round, and it won't save the fuel up. When you hit cancel, it'll take you back to that truck activity screen, and then when you refresh that, then it'll be there. It'll do it on two different computers with two different internet connections. I've got a really good, strong fiber optic cable running into my house for internet, so I don't think it's a connection problem. It'll also do it on the laptop I carry in the truck, a different laptop that I carry in the truck off of Verizon's internet connection. I have problems on both connections on both computers.
Got it. So first off,
what the hell am I going to do about it?
First off, thank you for explaining it very clearly so I didn't have to ask about 10 questions that I already had in my mind, and you answered them all. So you explained this really well and clear and concise, so thank you. Because you eliminated all the things I thought it was going to be. And that leaves me with no answers other than I'm going to put you back with Morgan, and we'll get this. Might actually require Aaron. I'm thinking our Tribe Care team, if I can't figure this out from what you just told me, they're not going to be able to either.
All right.
So we might need to get you to Aaron to troubleshoot this
now,
one.
Okay. Now, sometimes when you hit save fuel up, it will save it. Maybe
Right.
I'm going to say maybe, I don't know, Kevin, maybe 3 to 4 times out of 10, it will save it.
Let me ask you one other question that I don't think you covered. Are you using the same internet browser on all of these computers? Is it Safari or Opera or?
Yes, I'm using Google Chrome. I think
So
it is on both
Chrome.
of them. Yes.
Okay. So
Now I don't know what the and I guess let me think when it was Saturday. I believe I was home Saturday entering some fuel tickets, and I'm trying to think. See, I don't know how I did it. I don't ever use the app.
Okay.
But I did just for shits and giggles. I accessed it on my phone and tried to enter a fuel ticket, and it did the same thing on my phone.
Now that's
However,
really weird.
Now that you said that, it may be. Maybe I'm doing it through your website, which the phone would also use Google Chrome. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know that.
Okay, and that Aaron will
probably would be.
Aaron will help you figure that out. If you're on the phone, there are 2 ways you could access the system through a phone browser, and then the browser still could be the issue. But if you're clicking on the Fuel Gauges app on your phone, then there's no browser. You're connecting right to our system through our app. So we'll determine that first.
I think it was through because I go to my Google Chrome and then I go to the
website.
Let's Truck.
Oh, okay. So no,
I think it's through the website. So
that's
I think
what
it would
it
still be
sounds like.
Consistently Google Chrome.
That's what it sounds
Yeah, I
like.
hadn't even thought of a different browser.
And a lot of times what happens is the browsers are updated constantly, and they push a new update and it breaks something, and that's why we have a programming team full-time, because they have to go fix this stuff all the time.
Right. Now, I'm going to talk beyond my intelligence again, but I think the Windows version on the home one is updated. There's 2 different Windows versions. I think, I don't remember now. Is there 10 and 11 maybe? Like the one at home is like Windows 11, and the one on my truck is Windows 10. I never did update the one on the truck because when I updated the one at home, it just changed it and it screwed it up, and I'm a creature of habit, and I didn't want to.
Yeah.
So they're doing it on both Windows versions.
Usually we don't have. It does make sense, and I understand what you're saying. Again, for somebody who keeps claiming they don't know this stuff, you explain things well. It makes it easy for me. We don't normally see problems with the operating system itself. That's more rare for an operating system to mess with things. The browser, though, browser issues are common. I bet I have 4 different browsers on my laptop because as soon as I run into a problem like that, I switch browsers. I'm actually having an issue right now with our website, letstruck.com. Most of the time it works great, but on Safari, occasionally I'll go to click on a page and it just won't load. It'll just sit there. and I'll restart it and it's updated and it just will not want to load a page. And then if I open up Opera, it loads the page in seconds.
If you load up, what was the second one you opened it on?
Opera.
I ever heard of that one?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite. If I use something other than Safari, it's going to be Opera. But this has been this way since web browsers came out. When we start running applications through web browsers, you can have problems. And we're constantly fixing them, and I'm constantly jumping over to other browsers to test things. So we deal with that a lot.
Yeah, I got on my home computer, I do occasionally use, kicking and streaming, I'll occasionally use Microsoft Edge, I believe it is. Is that a browser?
I think that's one of their new browsers. Fairly new.
I hate it, but the only reason I use it is because that was the one that was loaded on the computer when I got this little laptop. I keep at home, and I got a couple of things like, for instance, my IFTA and my New Mexico. I already had those in the Edge, so I'll go back and use the Edge because they're saved with all my login and everything on the Edge, and I've never transferred them over to the Chrome. But maybe I ought to go back and try Microsoft Edge with Fuel Gauges and see if I hadn't even thought of it being browser.
You know, when you talk with Aaron, he'll give you the browsers that we have the least amount of trouble with. And my guess is we may not even support Microsoft. I know when they were, for years, Microsoft had Internet Explorer, and a lot of companies just stopped supporting it. It was a mess to keep up with. I think we may have stopped supporting that. I don't know about Edge at all. I don't know if what we do with that.
Okay.
But that's why this is going to be an issue for Aaron, I think.
All right. Well, just have him call me someday. No big deal.
I'll put you back in the queue right now, and we'll let Morgan arrange something so that we get this taken care of quickly. Let's continue on with the calls. It is a free-for-all today. I'll be here for 3 hours, 2.5 now, or until we run out of questions. It's up to you. I have plenty I could work on today. I got to get busy working on a keynote. A keynote is not coming to me, and I'm getting a little worried. We're getting closer. Writing things like this, and it was really time for me to write a good keynote speech for this group. I'm excited about speaking to this group. It really is my target audience. And I thought writing the keynote was going to be easier. I think part of the problem is there's just been way too many distractions, too much on my mind. The whole writing process for me, I don't really understand it. What I mean is I'll sit down to write and there's just nothing. Writer's block is a real thing. Just nothing comes. No matter how hard I try or how hard I don't try. Sometimes you just got to relax and not try so hard, but that doesn't always work either. And then something happens and I get in a zone and I get the theme and then it gets easy and I can just write it and get it all out and then I can work on tweaking it. That part's easy. I know how to do that. What I don't know how to do is I don't know how to get this initial spark. And it's not happening this time. But I think it's just because I'm too distracted with too many things. So we're certainly not anywhere near moved in to the homestead. That's not going to happen for months. We're already planning construction. But I do need to spend a lot of time over here. So, but it feels a little more settled now. Last night was the first night we spent here that sort of feels like we're a little settled. So I've got to get busy on that. I have a lot of stuff that has to happen before I leave here in less than 2 weeks now. Yeah, this is happening fast. I pick up the coach this Friday. That's a big thing, too. It's still on my mind. Is everything going to be right? Am I going to be able to make the trip with this thing? I really didn't want to push it this close, but that's how things happen sometimes. We're going to get to the calls. Let's go to Kentucky. Phil, welcome.
Hey, good morning, Kev. I got some test results on for some blood work I had done.
All right.
And I was wanting to get your thoughts on it. They flagged potassium at 5.5.
Okay.
that was one of them that they flagged. I didn't know if that was something I needed to be concerned of. I think 5 is when it gets out of range.
Yeah, there are a couple problems with blood work. Are you working with a functional practitioner or just a standard doctor?
It's a standard doctor.
Most of the ranges they're looking at are just wrong. Like a lot of things. The one thing we have to understand, all of our ranges, even the functional ranges, they're better. But most of all of the research on all of this stuff has been done for decades with people who eat the standard American diet. And we find as functional practitioners that when you change your diet, those requirements change. And I don't know that we know the right numbers yet. There are times where we think that a nutrient might be really low, and yet we don't see any symptoms. We don't see any signs that it's a problem. So I think we still have a lot to learn about a lot of these nutritional values. I wouldn't get too crazy about potassium right now. What else did they flag?
Well, my the usual cholesterol. I'm sure we get that all the time.
What was your total?
The total was 229.
See, I think that's nothing wrong with that in my book at all. That's right where mine is, I think. If I remember right, mine was 220 something. Do you have your other numbers in front of you?
The triglyceride 50.
Oh, that's excellent.
HDL 59. The VLDL was an 8. The LDL was 162. And it's got cholesterol, HDL, 3.88.
And your doctor wanted to put you on a statin.
Well, no, I haven't gone to him yet, but I'm sure
he will.
What he's going to ask.
He will. And you know what? He has to. If he doesn't,
right? Yeah.
If he doesn't, his licensing board will give him pressure. It's awful that doctors don't even have the freedom to make their own decisions anymore. They're forced into all these numbers. No matter what the rest of the circumstances are. So I'm going to make a guess, see if I'm right here. You're not really eating the standard American diet.
No.
I didn't think so. Not with those numbers.
I do a lot of fast. Monday through Friday, I fast pretty much and eat one meal a day.
Excellent.
Weekends when I'm around the wife, there's food all the time.
Sure.
Now, the one thing that I don't know if this is a concern is my glucose is at 101. And they flagged that.
Yeah, no, I can explain that, and I could have predicted that. So here's another example of the way we look at blood sugar is completely wrong. We think we should be seeing these 70s and 80s as ideal for fasting blood sugar, but we know when people are eating the proper diet, you almost never see I can't tell you the last time my blood sugar was 70 something. It almost never happens anymore. Mm-hmm. I almost never go below 90, but I almost never go above 140 either. So my range is nice and tight, which is what we want. What happens is the standard American diet with 300 grams of carbs a day starts giving you high and low numbers. You start getting the 160s, 70s, 180s. You also start seeing 80s, 70s, and 60s. It goes wrong in both directions. And then that's why low blood sugar becomes such a problem for people. But what we find is when you're eating a low-carb diet, whether it's keto, carnivore, low-carb paleo, whatever it might be, a real food diet, that bottom number just doesn't get down into the 70s or 80s anymore. It tends to stay above 90, and when it gets above 100, then they'll claim you're pre-diabetic, but you're not even close.
Yeah. One other thing, I just started about 6 months ago. Now, I had a leg injury where I broke my tib to fib and shattered my ankle, and I've got 23 screws and 2 plates in that right leg. Ever since I had done that, I kind of have a dull, tingly feeling in my big toe and that. And just like I said, about 6 months ago, my left foot started kind of getting that tingly feeling, and my right hand the pinky would get the kind of a dull, tingly feeling. But when I get up and move around a lot, it seems to go away. But if I'm sitting somewhere for a while or I'm laying somewhere for a while, that's when I really notice it.
Okay,
but
so
like I say, when I get up and have movement, it kind of goes away.
that tells me something. There are two things that could cause the kind of feeling you're talking about. It could be neuropathy, which is nerve damage, and we see a lot of that with diabetics. And what's happening actually is the sugar is coating the nerve endings, and then they stop firing properly, and we get what's called neuropathy. Before I answer this, let me ask one other question. Did they give you an A1C number in this blood work?
No.
No A1C, really? I wonder why they wouldn't have done that.
I don't think there was anything in there. Like I say, I'd have to go online and pull it up.
Based on the way you're eating, I can't believe we have any blood sugar issues. So I don't think this is neuropathy at all. I mean, that just wouldn't even make sense based on what I know right now. What it can be is circulation. Poor circulation can cause the same thing. If that is a concern, or if it continues, or if it gets worse, I would consult with Dr. Wolfson on that one. I mean, that's a cardiology issue.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because like I say, if I get up and move around,
that's why I think it's circulation, because the movement. Right. Now, here's something that you could probably make big improvements in this on your own without even consulting with anybody. The best thing to fix this is cold exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Cold showers, cold plunges, ice baths. What that does is that your skin is going to get so cold, your body's going to try to warm it up, and it does that by forcing blood through the capillaries to the skin. And by doing that over and over and over, it kind of like cleans out the system and gets our arteries and veins and capillaries working better. And that's really what's going wrong for you. That's why you're getting numb in the extremities. You're not getting good blood flow out to them. And the cold exposure can kind of force that to happen and fix that.
Okay. Well, would it be all right to take a bucket of some cold ice water and just stick my feet in there and
that helps? Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that helps. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I might try that then before I jump to something else. Then I appreciate it.
Give it a shot and see if you see some improvement with that.
Okay, will do. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's go to New York this time. Jack, good morning.
Good morning. I ran the Mirai truck for 3 years.
Did you really?
So, yes. So I started in 2018, and, I ran it till March of 2021.
Did you have mirrors as well? Physical mirrors?
Yeah, I had physical mirrors because the company that I was working for didn't want to take those off because, of course, my truck was slip-seated quite often. So I became I became very good at working with the Mirai. Because basically in 2018 they came out with it, and we were in a pilot where we diagnosed the problems with it and improved it. So basically what you were talking about, the camera follows the tail of the trailer. So when you go around a corner, you can actually see the total corner even down to your tandems. So, basically...
Very nice, yeah.
Basically when I went around a corner, I wouldn't be looking straight ahead. I could turn around a corner just by looking in the mirror.
Yeah, very nice.
So I could swing around it. And then when you're backing up, they have it where when you put the truck in reverse, it takes the camera and then zooms it in. So when you're backing up, it multiplies it. So you can actually see the back of backing up to a dock, where before it wasn't there. And your perception with a camera is different than a perception with your mirror.
I'll bet. Yeah.
So the other mirrors in the truck too, they have a center mirror, or a center screen where you can actually see the right front of your truck. So when you're going around a tight quarters, you can actually see the front of your truck so you don't hit any object in front of you. And basically, as a car is coming up on your right-hand side, like Paul was saying, he was in the left-hand lane, you could actually see the car back by your tandems coming up alongside you, and seeing where they were. And you could also see probably 20 feet into the shoulder, as you're driving down the road, in that screen. So it's quite a setup. And then the other, the Super Truck 2 that Freightliner has, they put on a new camera system called Mekker-Lang Bosch, which has been used quite a bit with Mercedes in the UK. And I think that's probably a better setup, because basically everything that Mekker-Lang Bosch had, Mirai pretty much copied.
Got it.
To work. So,
and one of the things we'll see here is this will just continue to improve. It's new. It's nothing about these kinds of systems is expensive. I mean, cameras are dirt cheap now. Software can get better, and these are all run by software. So I just think we're going to continue to see improvements in these systems, and it sounds like they're pretty darn good already.
Well, the best thing about it is, like when you're running rain, you see clearly, like it's like there's no rain at all.
That's awesome. Yeah.
The way the cam, you don't get the water that's on your mirror.
Right.
Because the way the camera's designed, there's nothing that can get on the lens. So what you're seeing is like it's not even raining out. And the same thing for snow. You see everything clearly.
And
so you don't have to go out there and
it's illuminated at night, right?
Yes.
So that tells me they're using IR, and that's why you're clear in the rain and snow too. It's not just that there's nothing on the lens, that's part of it, but the IR is seeing through the rain and snow, the same way it sees through the dark.
Right. And then also you can adjust all that stuff, intensity to lower or higher or whatever. You can, like at night, you can brighten up your screen so much that, it's like daylight out.
When I first started talking about this back in 2007, and we wanted to try something like this, we were working with a company that had come out with Fender cameras to replace the Fender mirrors first. And you were allowed to do that because there was no requirement to have those Fender mirrors anyway. And the company we were working with ultimately went out of business, but they had a pretty darn good system back then. They could track the trailer corner just like, you're explaining now. And we were pretty impressed with the system back then. But we got a ton of pushback. People are like, oh, no, they're just going to break all the time. And what are you going to do when your camera goes out and you can't see? These things are far more dependable than that.
Well, when I first started with the pilot that we were on, there was times where, I would just get a black screen, the thing would go right out, but eventually, when we got more and more involved in it, that improved.
Exactly.
And that didn't happen at all.
Right.
And then basically there's also emergency setup where, if you lose one part of the camera, you lose the other part of the camera. But, like your lower mirror, because you still have your top mirror, and you still have your lower mirror for your convex. And with your convex, you can actually see, like, if you're rolling down the interstate, you can actually see over in other lanes all the way over to the shoulder.
Nice.
What's going on the other side of the road, which is just totally awesome. And then I have another answer for you for Jerry with the problem with your website. One of the other members had a problem trying to order product on your website, and Aaron suggested for him to use Safari, and he was able to order something.
Which comes back to the browser, and that's what I was recommending, that this is probably going to be a browser issue, but I'll let Aaron work with them and get it figured out. Safari works best most of the time on all of our stuff. Safari works best, but not always. And there are other browsers, and we support most of them.
Yeah, but most of your equipment that you use actually is Apple products, so maybe that's the reason for that.
Yeah,
you know,
we're very Apple centric. There's no doubt.
Yeah, because I work with Aaron quite a bit on the app.
Good.
So,
Good.
You know, I'm pretty familiar with everything that's going on.
Excellent.
So,
all right.
Thank
Appreciate
you very much.
the heads up on that. Great information. Let's go to New Mexico. Wojtek, good morning.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can. You almost sound like you're on this planet.
Great. Well, I wouldn't put it that way. I'm on a planet. I don't think I'm on this planet. So I couldn't quite hear that caller that had some injury to his foot or something with screws or something.
Yeah,
I didn't quite catch how that happened.
I don't think he said. He just said he had an accident, broke the tibia and fibia, and shattered the ankle, and had like 23 screws and plates and rods and all kinds of hardware.
That sounds unless he stuck his foot in a garbage disposal, that sounds like some kind of impact injury.
Yeah.
That usually sends a shock up your spine, which I'm familiar with because I've had that several times. And what happened to me, I had an injury on my upper spine. Well, my spine's all messed up anyway. But I had an issue. He mentioned that he had like tingling and numbness shooting down his arm and his fingers. And I had the same thing for several months. And what it was a pinched nerve. The nerves go through your spinal column through tiny little holes in all sorts of ways. And when you have any sort of inflammation between your discs or in tissue around your spine and your vertebrae, it pushes on those nerves.
That makes sense.
It's not going to hurt right there it's not going to hurt right there at the where the actual pressure is. It's going to manifest itself downstream at the tips of the nerves, and you know, like I had a burning sensation down through my elbow and in my trigger finger on my right hand. It was numb. Just the fingertip was numb.
Hey, when things start messing,
burning sensation in a certain spot.
When things start messing with our trigger finger, that's serious.
That's right.
Yeah, don't be messing with my trigger finger.
I went to the doctor, and of course, the first thing was, without even doing any kind of examination, oh, yeah, we're just going to go in there, we're going to snip that nerve, everything's going to be A-okay, in and out procedure, no problem. I'm like, yeah, no thanks.
No thanks.
Oh, yeah. So, but anyway, so what I did, I started doing some research how to heal that, and apparently the discs between your vertebrae, they need to be hydrated, and they need to have proper number of nutrients or just proper nutrients in
imagine that
fluid in order to function properly. So bone broth, a lot of I ate a lot of connective tissue.
Good.
Which obviously would have those. I made bone broth from the spine of the pigs that I raised.
Excellent.
It was delicious, and it within several months, I cured that condition, and I no longer have a problem.
Outstanding.
And I didn't have to go into the butcher and get cut up
now
and have years and decades of problems.
Yeah. You know what? You're describing exactly what chiropractic is based on. Chiropractic is based on the idea, and this is why chiropractors will claim they help heal the whole body. They're not just fixing your spine because you have back aches. That's just one part of it. The bigger part is that when they keep the spine in alignment and the discs spaced properly, so you're not pinching and putting pressure on nerves, every part of the body works better because every part of the body is controlled by these nerves that come out of the spine.
Sure, but when I see videos on the internet of those people tweaking their patients, it looks like some kind of medieval torture technique. I would never let them touch me that way. I know of somebody that has been injured by a chiropractor.
It can happen.
Crippled for life.
It's pretty rare. I will say I'm a pretty big fan of chiropractic. Always have been. Now, here's the interesting thing, though. I started going to a chiropractor when I was 12. Remember that? Actually, I went to my family doctor who practiced chiropractic, and he fixed me the first time. And then I have been going to chiropractors on and off my whole life until recently. Once I changed my diet, I haven't. Well, I went to a chiropractor once when I really injured my lower back, and it was a true injury. And they, got me fixed up pretty quickly. But for the most part, I don't need chiropractors anymore. And I think it's just the nutrition that helps so much.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because why do you have to keep going back?
Right. No, I get it. Yeah, you're right.
But they almost broke it. Obviously, it's not a natural state to have to keep going back.
Correct.
But anyway, we can talk about that forever. What I called in about is I am currently in the censorship purgatory of Twitter. I must have hurt somebody's feelings because I got my account deleted.
You're kidding.
Somebody didn't like. No. Somebody did not like my joke on Twitter, and they got their feelings hurt, so they went to Daddy Musk and started crying. And but the funny thing is, I've made another account, but the funny thing, I made a comment like, those idiots in Europe where they glued themselves to the road to protest. So there was a video going around of the police cutting the concrete in the road out, and I just made a comment that I thought was funny in my twisted brain. I said, well, why not it'd be cheaper just to cut the hand off, and, I bet no idiot would glue themselves to the road again.
I don't see a problem with that.
Violent speech. Yeah, exactly. So, but that was violent speech. So, but my point is that Khomeini can, push genocide of the entire nation of Israel,
right?
And that's okay,
right?
And they allowed to keep that on, and they even have a statement. Well, this violates the rules of Twitter, but we decided to keep it up in the public interest. I'm like, so when somebody that advocates for genocide has a big enough account where they bring in a lot of ad revenue, that violent speech is okay. Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
so that's basically how selective those, rules
the screeners
feelings are.
Right. And we still have to remember, and I'm hoping this is the case. Elon Musk has made huge improvements in censorship and transparency. It's still nowhere near perfect. And I'm hoping it's just because it's not because these are his policies. I'm hoping it's just because it's such a big beast, and you've got algorithms that they haven't had time to rewrite yet. You still have people in there making decisions. It's not like Elon Musk is looking at all, 800 million users or how. So I'm hoping it continues to get better because there is still a lot of censorship going on. It's better than any other platform out there right now. And I hope it.
No doubt.
I hope it continues to get better. I got a comment banned the other day, and I didn't even think about it when I wrote it. There was a video. There is a guy. I don't know if you've seen him or not. I think his name is Alan Roberts. He's a keto or a carnivore guy. I think. Works out a lot, looks like he's in really good shape. But his whole thing is he goes over to TikTok and he finds all these videos. I guess this is a big trend now on TikTok that obese people, almost exclusively women. I don't know that I've seen a man do this yet or not, but he finds these videos of obese women who make TikTok videos about everything they eat all day long. And they eat it while they're making these videos, and they brag about how much they eat and what they eat. And they're clearly morbidly obese. And he takes these videos and he brings them over to Twitter and he just rips them apart. And he does it all day, every day. And he had one the other day. Get this. The woman was obese. She was following some TikTok influencer who was also obese. And her problem, she wasn't upset that she was obese and unhealthy. She wasn't the right kind of fat. Her butt didn't look right when she gained weight, and she thought I'm the kind of fat that nobody likes. I mean, this was her whole video. It wasn't that she wanted to lose weight and get healthier. She wanted to be a different kind of fat. I'm watching this and I'm like, I can't even get my head around this. And her comment, she actually made a comment on the video. She said, well, what am I? You know, why am I not the right kind of fat? What am I? And I said, you know what you are? You're deranged. That's what you are. You're deranged. And that comment got banned. How do people think like this?
You know, it's very selective. If mental illness, supports your political and social agenda, then it's no longer mental illness. It's just, I don't know. It's all kinds of like. I think I came onto the radar of somebody. Maybe I'm just tinfoil hat territory here.
Yeah,
because I started talking shit about Newsom and politics and things like that, and I'm like, I'm a nobody, so who the hell cares?
Well, I can still
I'm sure it was
see.
Just automatic thing.
Yeah.
But here's my question.
Oh, go ahead.
Here's my question. So on this new account I allegedly made, I can't see any spaces. Like I try to find, Twitter spaces, but it says, oops, something went wrong. It's not your fault. Try again. But I'm not buying that. I think they're tracking either my phone, IP address, or email. Theoretically, I would do that, or somebody would do that. I'm asking for a friend, of course.
Yeah,
Are spaces not working or something, or what?
Well,
am I still in the purgatory?
I wouldn't think you're in the purgatory. I wouldn't think that you're being targeted on this. I mean, I still get that message every now and then. Oops, it didn't work. Try again. Sometimes when I'm posting. Spaces is a little weird. They still have a lot of work to do on Spaces. I like it. I don't know if it's had problems the last couple of weeks because I haven't done any Spaces in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.
But I occasionally...
I think I'm being targeted.
Yeah. Boy, if you're...
I think I am being targeted.
If they are...
I'm pretty sure I am being targeted.
So, yeah, I'm trying to... I guess with technology, they could certainly identify devices somehow. And I don't know. That seems like a stretch if they're doing that kind of stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm being targeted. Just that's what all the evidence is pointing to, and I may have to file some kind of discrimination lawsuit. Being a black trans lesbian.
Sure.
I think they're discriminating against me, and so.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to get in touch with my congressman.
Yeah, given that you are a black trans. Yeah, given the fact that you are a black trans lesbian, I think you should probably end up owning about 10 or 20% of Twitter after this is over.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
All right.
I'll cut you in on that.
Good.
So when's the next space coming up?
Probably not till I get back from this trip. I may try to squeeze something in, but it's not looking like it's going to happen. So I expect to be back.
I'll see you in Nashville.
Yeah, I expect to be back from the trip sometime around the second week in November or so. I'm going to leave early, so I've got plenty of time to get there. That'll also give me time without a lot of distractions to work on my keynote and some other things before I get there. And I need to leave some extra time there, or I would push that a little more, but I got to be there. So I can't push that too close. Once the event's over, I can shoot straight home and not have to worry about time. Let's go to South Carolina. Annie, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin.
What's on your mind today?
If you remember, I was driving a Cascadia for a little bit, and I finally got rid of that money pit, and I'm back in this 03 Volvo, which has been a good truck. I'm going to try. I haven't been in it long enough to get a good fuel mileage base on it. And from what the previous runs that I've done with it, it's probably going to be in the mid-sixes, but I'm going to try to get it up. Everybody's laughing, thinking it ain't going to hit 8, but I don't know. We're going to try.
Oh, I don't see why it couldn't.
No, it's got an ISX, pre-emission, no EGR. I just put the manifold on it because when I had it some work done, they had some broken bolts, and I said, well, I was planning on putting that manifold the full tilt. So I got that on there in the Fleet air filter, and I've got the Yokohama 617s all the way around. And let me tell you what I'm doing now. My flatbed is parked, and I'm trying out working with TJ.
Okay.
Pulling his trailers. I've only done a couple loads with him. I'm working my way back up to New Jersey to grab a trailer and try to get back to Texas. But he's got me doing a triangle from Texas to the Carolinas and up to Jersey and then back. So what I'm going to do is run this for about a month, see how the numbers look, and go from there and see if it's feasible or not.
Excellent.
He's got some good equipment. It's all fairly new reefers, super singles. Some of them have forward lift axle. He's got the fly swatter mud flaps and the different under trays and skirts and whatnot. So I like it. We'll just have to see what the money is.
He runs a great operation over there.
Yeah, so far so good. But
Good.
like I said, we're going to run it for a month and see how it is, and then I'll let you know and whatnot. But
all right.
You know, well, it's funny. I was listening to some of the spaces from that other group.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious because they're the guy that started it there. I don't remember his name, but he's going like he's looking at JB Hunt, TQL, and you know everybody's revenue is down because of the economy.
Right.
But he's on there bragging, well, we're boycotting them, and we're really putting a hurting on them because
you have got to be kidding me. They are not claiming that they did that, are they?
Yes, I'm serious. They're like, you know, what do they got? 45 members? You know,
well,
we know we're putting. It's hilarious because they're like serious. We put a hurting on JB Hunt and TQL and all these brokers. We're just not hauling for them, and their revenues are down, and everybody's revenues down.
Well, absolutely, everybody's revenues down, and if they think that they are actually having an impact, they're more deranged than the fat chick.
Who watches fat people eating? I mean, and they probably got hundreds of thousands of followers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, wow, this fat chick's eating a hamburger and cake and pies and diet soda. And it's like, I'm going to follow her and comment.
I don't get it.
That has just got to be.
I know.
I don't either.
I don't get it. And this guy takes those videos and just rips them apart day after day after day. And he takes an awful lot of heat from it from a lot of people, but I think it's exactly what should have. Look, If you want to do that, knock yourself out. To me, it seems like just really deranged thinking. I mean, I just don't understand that thought process at all.
Yeah. But I wanted to let you know about, I called them last month and I had to get over to Texas, get a trailer. And like I said, it's only been, this is my second week. So I'll keep you posted on it and see how it goes. And
looking forward to it. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Ohio. Mike, welcome.
Well, what's going on?
What's on your mind today?
Good morning this morning.
I am. I just watched a doe and a fawn tear through the field like something was chasing them, but I don't see anything chasing them.
Well, it's a good life, isn't it, out there?
Oh, I can't even tell you.
I got to say, you've lightened up a whole bunch since the old radio show.
Yeah, I can kind of feel that.
I'm serious. You really have. You was so goddamn serious back then that I was afraid to call in sometimes to ask you some questions like how I could write my motorhome off when I really couldn't. And now you're saying, just write it off. You're a trucking company.
And there was no pun intended. I was serious back then.
Yeah. But, hey, I was just going to tell you, I'm always about the unfair advantage. They don't have it anymore. They discontinued it, but it's in a gel form now, a pill gel form. It was separating in those little tubes. That's too long. But I was going to give you a little hint on if you want to feel like that 24 hours a day, or at least while your waking hours. Just eat meat and drink water for like 30 days.
I believe it. I really do. And I've talked about this, that I can either go more strict keto or more strict carnivore. Really, it's ketovore. I tend to eat really fatty carnivore. And I see a difference. The stricter I am, the better I think. And leading up to an event like this, I'm already transitioning to a stricter version of ketovore for the next couple of weeks. And I know I'll see a difference. I always do.
And if you want to take it a little bit step more, fast for about 48 hours every week.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, my God. And then the sleep, I used to always say that, hell, I thought it was overrated and it wasn't, I didn't want to sleep. Now I sleep like a baby, 7 hours a night, never wake up, never have to go piss or nothing. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
I'm thinking that a lot of times that is the one thing that doesn't always happen for me. But I got thinking about it, and I think I know why. So when I go stricter, sometimes my sleep gets better quality, but much shorter. Like I will get down to some nights where I'm only getting 4.5 hours of sleep. And because of that, my sleep score will be horrible no matter how good my sleep was, because I just didn't get enough of it. I have a feeling it isn't the diet that's doing that. I got thinking about this. Every time that I do this, it's because I have some big event coming up. That's why I'm doing it. I think it's just the stress and the pressure of the big event that affects my sleep.
Yeah, I don't know. My sleep just totally changed about 3 days after I started. I got it from Dr. Andrew Shapey, Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
The brain surgeon in Australia.
Yep.
I started watching some of his YouTube videos and seeing some of that stuff. Now, you know what? I've been strict keto. I'm just going to see, why not do a little biohacking and try it? So.
Yeah, I'm convinced it works well. I mean, I really think that, that's all evidence that this really is the nutrition our body needs.
So I did a blood test the other day, and my total cholesterol was 218. HDL was 58. Triglycerides were 61. And LDL was 158.
So it's interesting.
A1C was 5.4.
Your cholesterol numbers are very, very close to the last caller, who is also eating one meal a day and very clean. They're very close to my numbers, which the same thing.
Yeah.
Those seem to be the kind of normal, good cholesterol numbers when you eat this way. And it's exactly what doctors want to put you on a statin for, which is insane.
Right. Yeah. That's why Dr. Wolfson, when he looked at it before, the other one was real close to this one. But that's why he just flipped right through that page. And I was like, God, there's all kinds of red on this thing. I was panicking,
Who cares?
you know?
Who cares?
So then I listened to all the doctors that Andrew Shapey interviews and stuff like that. They're on the kind of, he calls it the Lion's diet.
Right.
But they all say they show the exact same numbers I'm showing.
Yep.
All those guys, and they're fit like nobody,
and it was Dr. Wolfson who, and I had always known we were not getting cholesterol right. We used to talk about the particle size test a lot. We don't even talk about that anymore. What I learned from Dr. Wolfson was if you eat right, and we know how to eat right, your cholesterol will be what it will be, and it will be just fine. Don't even think about it.
Yeah. I mean, they said the only numbers they look at is the HDL and the triglycerides. I think he said he wanted the triglycerides a tad higher than the HDL or something.
That's about right. Yep, that's about right.
And you want it like within 2% or something like that.
Yeah, and we'd like to see HDL up there. If it goes up, that's good, and triglycerides can go up with it. That's just fine as well. And those are just good numbers.
Some of those guys that he interviews that are so fat and stuff, their triglycerides are up in the $300 and $400 range.
Right.
So, but I got a complaint. I ordered the X bar from you. It came in on Saturday, and so I'm one of those recovering alcoholics that don't give me one beer, give me 24. So don't give me one scoop of ice cream, give me 4.
Right.
So that's how I hit the old pushing day, on that X bar.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me you don't have to go whole hog the first time. I can't straighten my freaking arms out right now.
Yeah, I agree. That is it's shocking to me how such a short workout can hurt so much in the beginning.
Oh my God! I you could do free weights and not feel this.
Never
Feel that
right.
hard.
Right.
And unbelievable, and it felt so good doing it,
Yeah. No, it hurts in the beginning.
So you just want to keep on. I can push one more. I can push one more. And you're shaking like,
something.
Trying to push it out.
And that's how you're supposed to do it. I mean, and you get down to where you're not even doing a half a rep. You're doing a quarter of a rep, and then you quit. Something else changed when I changed the way I eat. So I've been through this workout thing my whole life. I started lifting weights when I was like 12 or 13. I'd do it for a while, then I'd quit. And I'd do it for a while, and then I'd quit. It's been a pattern my whole life. And every time I go back, you just dread. You're going to go through that pain the first couple of days. But the pattern used to be really clear for me. The pattern was if I did my workout on Monday afternoon, I didn't feel the worst pain till like Wednesday morning. It was like 36 to 48 hours later, I would feel the pain. Now, if I haven't been working out like I haven't been, and I'm about to start this week, it's also helping me prepare for the trip coming up. If I do the workout early in the morning, I will feel the pain that evening.
Yeah.
And that's changed. That never used to happen.
I was feeling a Sunday night, and then today. Oh my God! But it's all good, I mean,
Wait till the worst. I think is legs, and then trying to get up and down steps for the next couple days.
Yeah.
That always hurts.
I was going to say I always had a little shoulder pain, even being on keto and not being on any grains. But I really think there's something to what he has to say about eating pork and eating chicken and stuff like that. That if you just stick with the ruminant animals, because my joint pain literally within a week of just going total beef is gone.
See, I don't.
I think there's something to that.
There could be
chicken and pork.
There could be. It doesn't affect me. That doesn't mean that it's not a thing, but I eat quite a bit of chicken and pork, and I don't feel any real negative side effects. As long as the more strict I stay on carnivore, ketovore, I'm fine. It's when I start wandering into plant foods and other things that I can get some joint pain.
Right.
Or I still, and I had a little twinge the other night in a big toe, and I thought, okay, as I go more and more strict carnivore and I start cutting out all the oxalates, my body starts oxalate dumping again.
Yeah, I haven't eaten vegetables in a couple of years or fruits, but the one thing I did give up, which is a plant, is I did give up coffee. In about 30 days, so it could have been the coffee too.
I've given up coffee many, many times. I gave it up for 90 days a couple years ago. I don't see any benefits whatsoever to giving up coffee. Doesn't help my sleep, doesn't change anything whatsoever. So I still enjoy coffee. And I will occasionally switch to decaf for a couple weeks because it's not really the caffeine that I want or need. I do just fine without caffeine. I just really, really enjoy the hot coffee in the morning.
Yeah, I do. There's a place up in Pennsylvania you can get raw butter, A2 butter.
Oh, nice.
From a farm, Miller's Bio or something. Miller's Bio, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
A pound of it costs $33. But, I order about 10 pounds at a time and go through it. Yeah, but man, it's some good stuff there.
It sounds good.
But I do put, if I cook something, I use butter, but that's about the only thing. And but I don't know. I've lost my train of thought, so I don't have much more.
Well, there you go.
Talking to you, I haven't talked to you in a while. I listened to you, so
good stuff. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Louisiana. David, it's your turn.
Hey, man, I think you caught me chewing on a little piece of ground meat for lunch. LOL.
Well, at least it was meat. I'm glad it wasn't a Pop-Tart.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I said, well, I could probably eat a couple of bites of ground meat while I'm waiting.
There you go.
You caught me right in the middle of it, but I'm good now. I talked to you last week. I was the guy that called in. We talked a little bit about, kind of 10 months into carnivore. Or I'll call it keto because I do drink coffee, and I do have, on the rare occasion, I might have a little bit of string beans here and there when I'm eating with friends. I don't.
Yeah.
I hate to turn down everything when I go eat with people, but
exactly.
Anyway, let's just say we'll just say I'm a carnivore because I eat almost all meat.
Good.
And maybe a little bit of lactose because I do have half and half with coffee, and that's about it. Maybe 5 grams a day average.
So
anyway,
dairy is considered completely carnivore.
Oh yeah. You're right. I mean, it is an animal product,
right.
But I do get I do get a little bit of carbs because of the lactose.
Yeah, which is fine.
But it's minimal.
Right.
I mean, I don't think I ever go over 10 grams of carbs a day, and it's all lactose.
Yeah.
But anyway, when I started, I had took some lab work, right? I want to say 2 weeks into being keto, and then I transitioned to carnivore. So my last labs were almost 10 months ago, and they were okay. My triglyceride HDL was not too bad. It was like 2.8. My ratio, which is not terrible. Anyway, I just had labs done, and I was really disappointed because I said I must have done something wrong the day before, something about what I might have ate. But anyway, my triglycerides went they were 191, which, they're supposed to be under 200, but I really was hoping they'd be under 100 this time because, I mean, I am not eating any carbs practically on a daily basis. And
so
my
keep in mind,
only went up 1.
Keep in mind that triglycerides, we are measuring fat in the blood. That's what triglycerides are.
Mm-hmm.
Glyceride is always fat.
Correct.
Triglyceride is 3 fats. I don't pay much attention to a triglyceride number because it will change rapidly. Like you could take that test in the morning and wait 8 hours and take it again in the afternoon and get a wildly different number. So I don't pay much.
Right, I've been told that.
Right. So this is why, even Dr. Wolfson, he does look at triglycerides and LDL a little bit, but for the most part, he just says if you're eating the proper diet, your cholesterol is what it is, and don't worry about it. And we just had a caller who said, other doctors that work on this regularly report people with triglycerides in the 300 and 400 range, and it doesn't bother them.
Right, because my total cholesterol went from the mid 300s to 528, and my LDL went from the mid to upper 200 range to 395. I mean, that's going to freak my doctor out when I video with him. But my triglycerides stayed about the same, and my HDL went up 1. So my ratio is actually not too bad. It's still under 3.
There is this phenomenon with some people. We used to blame it a lot on the condition called hyperfamilial cholesteremia or something along those lines. I can never pronounce that right. Now there are a lot of practitioners who kind of specialize this, and they call people like that hyper responders. And they know that when these people go to a keto carnivore diet, that their numbers are going to go through the roof. But all the research I've done, it doesn't cause problems for anybody.
Right. And like I said, I'm not worried about my cholesterol numbers because the more I've been researching this and reading and watching these top, I call them lipologists, guys that really know, they really get into the weeds of the microbiology. There is nothing to fear with high LDL levels. It's just what, like you said, it is what it is. They all say the same thing. As long as you're, if you can keep your triglyceride to HDL ratio, 1.5 or below, that's like almost guaranteeing you have zero small dense LDL, and it's all the healthy fluffy type, which is what I'm hoping for. Now, I before the blood test, before my labs, I did do 2 things kind of wrong, which I've been told that I shouldn't have done this. One, I told you last week, I'm an avid cyclist. I consider myself an endurance cyclist. I bike well over 200 miles a week, and 50 to 60 miles per, sometimes more. But the day before, which was a Wednesday, I did a 60-mile bike ride with a group that I ride with a lot. We were in the hills this time, so I was doing a lot of hill work. And that really wiped me out by the end of the ride. And I was told that you really shouldn't do real excessive workouts prior to lab work because that can really mess up your blood work. And I drank a Guinness, which every other Wednesday, I don't do this every Wednesday, but every other Wednesday after this ride, we go to this little popular restaurant called Walk-Ons, and not every week, but every other week, I'll order a Guinness. And I did this time, and after I finished it, I said, "Oh shit, I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to say that word."
That's fine.
Okay, but I said, "Oh crap, I drank a Guinness, and I'm like, I got my blood test tomorrow, and I might do something with my, triglycerides and all that, But anyway, I was told that those 2 things may have thrown a little bit of a wrench into my blood work. They said that, like you said, it's just a snapshot. And I took it at, I think I fasted for a total of 11 hours. The last thing I ate was about 11 hours prior. It was about 5 scrambled eggs in some pork fat, which is my favorite snack.
There you go.
Anyway, I said, well, let me eat something. It's 11, before, I think at 7 o'clock that night, I ate those scrambled eggs. And before that, I had some hamburger meat, and I think I had hamburger meat for maybe a pound and a half of burger, throughout the day. And then at night at 7, I had those scrambled eggs. I said, well, that I'll be fine, But anyway, I was upset. Then I did have other things that were odd. I had my chemicals, like, my my alkaline phosphates were kind of low. My WBC was low. My RBC, I don't know what all those are, but I had like a bunch of things that were low. And I had a couple of things that were high, like ALT and AST. I don't know what those are, but they were a little bit on the high side.
All of those are liver markers. So almost everything you just rattled off through there is either like a liver marker, a kidney marker, those kind of things. They tell us supposedly how the liver's functioning. The problem is, and this is across the board on all lab work, all of these numbers have been determined with people who eat the standard American diet.
Exactly. That's why I'm not real worried about that, because your previous caller was talking about Dr. Chafee.
Yeah.
He has mentioned that, as well as, quite a few of those doctors have mentioned that those averages were worked out. They took a whole bunch of people that were eating whatever, and they measured all their levels, and that was the average. And I said, well, matter of fact, the last time I had some bunch of similar, my doctor wasn't worried about those the last time.
Let's think about something else. Let's think about something else. Let's think about something we have absolutely proven over and over and over for years now. We're talking about it, that their cholesterol numbers are not only wrong, but they will keep you sick. If you try to maintain the cholesterol numbers they think you should maintain, you will be sick and you will die early. So if we know that, and we know that, we've proven it over and over, why would we trust any of their lab numbers?
Right.
Maybe all of their lab numbers are designed for two things, to keep you sick and keep you on prescriptions.
Well, I'm completely, I have no prescriptions anymore. The last thing I got off of was statins about 6 months ago. And I told my doctor, I said, dude, I cannot take statins anymore. I don't see what's the point. They don't really do anything but make me feel terrible with my joints and my,
Well, and I'll go back to the entire premise of lowering our cholesterol is wrong. So yes, statins will lower your cholesterol. They absolutely do. That's the problem with them. We should not be trying to lower our cholesterol.
Yeah. And, I'm probably this is probably going to be my last visit with this doctor. I'm probably going to just fire him because he doesn't really support the diet I'm on. And I use the VA. He's through the VA, and they're not going to bend.
No, they're not.
This, but
Never.
I do have another doctor that I use that I'm using with I have a medical insurance through being a retired military, and I can use out in town or the VA. But I've been using the VA because it's just been a little bit easier for me to use the VA. But I think I'm going to go back to my other doctor who knows what I'm doing, and he's a little bit supportive of it. He won't try to lecture me. He goes, well, I'm just a little concerned about your LDL, but he doesn't flip out like this doctor will. And matter of fact, I don't know if you know this, but when you're in the VA and you turn down statins, in some places they'll make you sign a form saying that yes, I've been counseled on
why they do that?
Terrible thing that I'm doing.
They don't do that to protect them. No, that's not even it. Because they know that the way you're doing things, maybe they don't know, but if they're not, they've got to be, I don't even know. They're not worried about lawsuits because lawsuits aren't going to happen because when you do what you do, you're not going to have a problem. Here's why they do it. It's fear. It's intimidation. Oh, my God. They're going to make me sign a form. This must be serious.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to say it's that intimidation.
That's
just
what
like
it is.
The mask thing.
Yeah.
The mask thing and the COVID vaccine. I saw the greatest meme the other day. Just 1 second to be off topic. I saw a great meme on COVID. It said something about never before has a disease been so dangerous that they forced you to take a vaccine, yet you have to take a test to find out if you had it in the first place. I thought that was such a great meme.
Yeah. Kind of sums it up.
You would think if it was that dangerous, people would be falling all over themselves to get the vaccine. And then, you know, if it was that bad, you have to go take a test to get it, find out whether you have it or not. You know, it ain't that bad of a disease.
No, here's what's happening.
But yeah, anyway,
they're not falling all over themselves to get the vaccine. They're falling all over after they have the vaccine.
Exactly. I retired early from federal service. I'm retired military, and I'm also I got hired by the Corps of Engineers after I retired from the Navy. They hired me I worked as a scientist and retired after a few years. But I
thank
retired
you for your
early
service.
They were forcing me that. Hey, well, thank you very much. When the whole COVID thing, the federal government said, okay, all federal employees have to get a COVID vaccine. I'm like, no, I'm not getting the fucking vaccine.
No.
There was no way. I had already had COVID. I didn't get sick, really. I just ran a fever for a couple of days. And I was like, I'm not taking a vaccine. And I said, you know, it's fine. I'm at the point I can retire, so I did. But I knew people that got fired.
Yeah,
Kevin,
I know.
And,
it's awful.
Out of military,
it's criminal.
out. And then months later, they removed the restriction. And I'm like, well, what about the people y'all
Exactly.
fired? Are they going to be able to get their job back? What about the Army, the people in the Army, Navy, Marine Corps that got kicked out? It just makes no sense.
Or the people who made the other choice and took a vaccine they really didn't want in order to keep their job, and they can't ever take that back.
And some people suffered some, you know, two of my friends took that shot, and both of them are dead that worked for the Corps of Engineers with me.
There's way too many stories like that.
Year of taking those shots.
There are just way too many stories like that.
So it was so sad. Both died of cancer within a year of taking that shot. And I was like, oh, my gosh. I had just retired at that point. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm sorry to get off topic here. I was more calling about my
no, that's
sad
fine. This is all
work.
It's all on topic as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Like, you know, I told you last week, I am not a truck driver, but I just the whole talking. I love the topics of truck driving, and I like listening to the truckers call in and talk about, you know, this and that. And I love when y'all diagnose engine problems and talk about different diesel engines, which, you know, I know the basics of autos and trucks and how these things work. So I find it fascinating, especially all the tuning stuff. But yeah, for the first time ever, I got inside of a modern, you know, truck,
nice.
tractor. You know, it was a pretty new a Lone Star, maybe, is that?
Oh yeah,
it had this
looks like a PT Cruiser on steroids.
Yes, it had a very unique grill.
Right.
It was very chromed out, and I asked the guy. And this was a couple of weeks ago. I asked him. I said if he could let me look inside. I'd never really been inside of a big truck like that, and man, I was fascinated with that cab, man. Especially the sleeper section. I was like, man, you could freaking live here.
Yeah,
it was so nice. You know, he had a little tiny desk where you could do your paperwork, and you know, he had a little TV in there, connection for cable TV and air conditioning. You know,
yeah.
I was blown away.
I go way back. The first truck I drove was a 1973. It had no power steering, no air conditioning. That one didn't even have an air ride seat. It had a spring ride seat in it. The sleepers back then were like little coffins. They were just big enough to lay in, and none of those amenities.
Exactly.
We've come a long way. You know what though? I
remember.
I also say that we haven't come far enough. Here's where I think we missed the boat. We should have really strong partnerships between truck manufacturers and RV manufacturers. I live in both worlds. I do a lot of RVing. I lived in one for 3 years. I'm getting ready to take a couple weeks trip in one. There is so much good technology in the RV world that isn't being used in the sleeper, and it should be. So I don't think we've come far enough. But it's the conveniences are pretty nice. There's no doubt about that.
One thing I noticed on some of these, a lot of people that haul furniture for like these global people that move houses, people that move from one house to another, and they have these people pick up all their furniture.
Yep.
I noticed that a lot of times those trucks have these big, giant, extended sleeper cabs on them that I only see on those trucks and no other trucks.
Now, you might be looking at two different things. There could be a true extended sleeper. There are a couple of big custom sleeper manufacturers that build those, and you do tend to see them on movers because they almost never go home. I mean, it is. I knew some movers that only got home like 3 or 4 times a year. That was pretty common for them. Okay. So you will see big sleepers on
videos of those.
On those. There's some other things you can see in the moving industry, though. They're actually called dromedary boxes, and it's another box put behind the sleeper that can haul more of the household goods.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. But these are just look like the sleepers, cab.
Right?
It looks like it's
now in that segment, it's pretty common to see those big custom sleepers.
The other thing that I've been really blown away by is how much better fuel economy has been in the past years. I remember, listening to truck driving shows where they talk about, 3, 4, 5 miles a gallon. And now I've been seeing some of these new trucks getting in the, almost 10 miles a gallon, maybe more, which that kind of blows me away because an F-350 maybe an F-250, F-350 pulling a trailer with a bunch of cows in it, that thing may not get but 3 miles, 4 miles a gallon. If it's a gas engine.
A good example of that, I said I've done a lot with RVs. We built a 43-foot RV trailer, a fifth-wheel trailer, and then we pulled it with a semi-truck, a Volvo. And we built the Volvo and it was used. It was it was a 99 Volvo, had like 900,000 miles on it. We built that to pull that trailer. And one of my big things, early on when I was on the radio, it was almost all fuel mileage. That was a big thing that I've done for years and years. I would, talk to guys who were pulling very similar trailers with pickup trucks. And they were struggling getting, 6 and 7 miles to the gallon. And I was getting 12 and 13 with that semi.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. I had an F-350 years ago.
There was no struggle going up any hill in the country. I could accelerate all the way up the hill if I wanted to, and the braking power was so much better than the pickup truck has. There were huge advantages to pulling that fifth wheel with a semi like that.
Yeah. It's amazing. One question I hear y'all talking about a lot, and I don't know what it is, but when y'all talking about fuel mileage, somebody will bring up the fact that there's something about a step-down transmission or something that's helping with, I've heard y'all talk like a step-down or something. That seems to have something to do with the fuel economy, y'all, or at least the efficiency y'all have been talking about.
I don't ever use the term step down, so I'm not sure where that term's coming from. We do talk a lot about transmissions, and believe it or not,
right,
some of us have been working on fuel economy for 30 plus years. I have my co-host on Friday, Joel, my other co-host, Henry, Alec, everybody on that show has been doing this fuel mileage thing for a couple of decades. And all through that time, we have all complained that the weak link in getting the best fuel economy possible is we can't get the transmission we want. Like, we designed a transmission. We want this gear in first. We want this reverse. We want this final ratio. We want these steps in between the gears. And we knew if we could build a transmission like we want, it would be an improvement. And it's just been recently, in the last couple of years, that we're finally getting those kinds of transmissions.
Hey, back when I was a little kid in the early 70s and throughout the 70s, I remember late at night I would listen to this truck driving show on the radio.
Midnight Cowboy.
It was a guy named like David. It was like all night long on WWL radio.
Oh, wait a minute. WWL Cincinnati, right?
It's New Orleans. I would pick it up on my little radio at night because and WWL had this truck driving show that played all night, but I think it was a syndicated show.
There were three.
So it may have originated from.
There were more than three, but there were three really big syndicated trucking shows back then on AM overnight. You had Bill Mack, who was the Midnight Cowboy. His studio was in Fort Worth, but he was syndicated all over the country. You had Dale Summers, who was referred to as the Trucking Bozo. His studio is in Cincinnati, but he was syndicated all over the country. And you have Dave Nemo, who was out of...
Yeah, Dave Nemo was the guy I remember.
Dave's still around. Dave's on Sirius XM every day. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
So I got my start in radio on the Midnight Trucking Show. Was my first guest appearance ever. My second guest appearance was Dave Nemo's show, and I was a regular guest on Dave's show for years before I got my own show.
Gotcha. Yeah, I that's why I really always loved truck. I used to dream about being a truck driver. I just never became one.
Maybe you should go do it now.
Although I did. I value being home after 20 years, well, almost 30 years of being in the Navy and being deployed.
There you go.
I just treasure being home. I treasure being home now. And man, I tell you, I kind of relate to the truck drivers because I know it's tough being away from home and being away from your family on the holidays. Yeah, it is. And it's just like, when you're in the Navy, I was deployed and it's tough. And I have a lot of respect for the truck drivers. I know it's a tough job, but I'm glad they do what they do.
Real quick before I let you go, that truck, that you liked and you looked at, the Lone Star, that design came from International Trucks builds the Lone Star. International used to build pickup trucks and SUVs. So the International Scout was really popular for a long time. That Lone Star is designed after a 1938 International pickup truck. If you go look at one, you'll see the resemblance in the grill and the hood and the fenders and everything.
Yeah, that makes sense because it has that retro look, and I remember looking at it and said, "Man, that looks very cool," But anyway, I'll let you get on to the next caller, man. Like I said, I've been listening almost every day now. Now that I found your show again, I just enjoy it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the support. Let's go to South Carolina. Terrence, good morning.
Morning.
What's on your mind today?
Couple things. As far as when you're talking about the unions before, I think a lot of them now are doing all this because they had Sleepy Joe there was standing in line with them, and now they all think they got,
that could be
got somebody in there with them.
Yeah, they definitely they do tend to be much more active when we've got Democratic control. But this seems even more. I mean, that just seems like all of a sudden, I'm just reading about strikes everywhere.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like I said, you had even nursing going, and that was unheard of. You didn't. It's just I don't know. I just think it's because of, like I said, he was standing on that line, showing himself, and they all think, oh, now we got an ally in it, and we're going to milk everyone we can.
Probably. Yep.
But now back to the damn COVID. I'll tell you, Kevin, this thing is kicking my ass.
Uh-oh.
And this weekend was like, a daughter got married, so I was running around Friday nights helping set up, and then Saturday the wedding was, and I was having these coughing fits. My whole body killing me just from coughing.
So I don't know if I'm
wrenching.
I don't know if I'm seeing some kind of a pattern or not. The one time I got really sick, it wasn't COVID according to the test, but it was sicker than I had been in a long time. I knew exactly what happened. I had stopped my supplementation while I was traveling. I was staying up late at night. I was drinking more. I wasn't living as clean and healthy as normal, and it got me. I got sick. I'm almost wondering if that that's kind of a trend I'm seeing. Even people who are eating really clean, if they let things kind of get out of control stress-wise and sleep, and, we get busy and we've got big things coming up, I'm really focusing on that before I leave for this trip. This is going to be a stressful trip. I'm going to be driving a lot. I need to write a lot. I need to keep working. I got a big event. I want to get back. I am going to be really careful. And everybody's sick. I mean, I see it all over. We've got employees out that are sick. I'm around sick people. I'm going to be really careful this time to try to do everything I can right. It almost seems like there's some, the bugs that are going around are nastier than ever. And if I had to speculate on why, I would say it's because there are so many people vaccinated who now have a weakened immune system, and that allows all of these bugs to mutate and get stronger. And I think that might be going on.
Yeah, because I mean, I like I said, she had it. She tested positive two and a half weeks ago. I mean, again, I didn't test this time. I don't know if I had it, but like just my respiratory, and that's what's getting me, because like you go to sleep at night and you keep trying to hack something up, and it's just like coughing. But like I said, my whole body from, when you go to cough, it's like you can talk, I mean, at least I do. Maybe I cough weird, but like your chest muscles, your rib cage, it's like, it's just brutal. But now I guess the Histoflex would help with the respiration, right? You think?
Histoplex would help, no doubt, and I was getting ready to start Histoplex, but I actually think I'm going to go back and work on the immune system protocol before I leave.
Okay.
I think I'm going to do the NDK immune support protocol. And I'm even going to take the advanced protocol with me just in case. So the original protocol to kind of just build the immune system during times like this is the vitamin D, the Bioimmunozyme Forte, the Bio C Plus, big dose of C helps with the zinc with copper, and bone broth. So I think I'm going to start that today.
All right. I'll start the bone broth. The other stuff I did that, it was good, but I don't have that on hand now. But I'm even doing the copper and the zinc, the thing that helped for a while. But now, like I said, ever since this weekend, my respiratory is like. I almost didn't want to go to work today, just for the fact of the way that my body felt. And I was like, you know what?
Here's something else that may be having an effect on this, and this is why Histoplex might be a really good idea right now. I'm going to take Histoplex with this protocol. This is not the typical cold and flu season. That usually doesn't happen till right around Thanksgiving, and we've even talked about that. The drinking, the stress, the partying makes it worse. But I've been saying for the last month, why is everybody getting sick now? This is a really unusual time of year to see this many people sick. But what also happens this time of year is all the fall pollen. And I think that's exacerbating everything else that's going on.
No, I got some of that at home. I just was trying to hold off on that because I figured, well, maybe it'll go away, because I don't take that just to take it. That really works really good for a lot of stuff. Yeah,
I don't either. So I only take it. Usually, if it gets bad enough in the spring, I'll take it for a week or two. It's usually all I need. And I was getting ready to start it now because I wake up in the morning and I've got some congestion going on, and I'm around all kinds of pollen all day long. So I'm just there's enough sick people, and I've got this trip coming up. I'm gonna take a few more precautions this time. I'm gonna start the immune protocol and some Histoplex today, I think. And I'm getting back to my stress protocol today.
Yeah, I felt like crap this morning. I didn't even do my X3 bar anymore. That's how I felt. But here's what's weird. Like last night, I went to bed at like 6:30, and I got up at 4:30 this morning. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and get ahead of this. Let me just go lay down in bed, whether I sleep or not. At least I'm laying down. I got up. I had like my sleep score was like, I slept like 7.5 something hours. It was like 74. And here's what's weird. My my HRVs, it was like 58 yesterday, a little lower, 57 Friday, and now I got up this morning, it was at 59.
Excellent.
And but I still felt like shit.
Well, I think it's your body fighting back. It's a good sign.
Okay, that's what I was concerned. Once concerned, I was like, well, I said, this can't be. But then I thought along the same lines, well, maybe if it's just me, my stress muscle is built up, and now it's just saying,
Right. I'm really starting to think that the bugs are getting nastier.
Yeah. All right, I'll let someone else get in. I appreciate it, Kevin. Have a good day.
All right, good stuff. Hope you start feeling better soon here. Let's go to Wisconsin. Jeffrey, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. How's it going?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Can you hear me?
I can.
All right. Well, good deal. So I'm looking at buying another truck.
Replacing a truck or adding a truck?
Yeah, there you go. Replacing a truck.
Okay.
Yeah. My truck, the crank broke on it here last winter.
Ooh.
And so I've just been doing some other things, projects at my place ever since then, and I'm kind of thinking about getting a truck again. So I have been through your CMC, and the last time I talked to you, in fact, was over there at Pittsburgh Power. It was probably about a year and a half ago. I talked to you. We had a good conversation there. You invited me in there, and I got to see your bus and stuff. So
yeah, we hung out for quite a while. I remember.
Yeah, it was great, and I appreciated that too. So, anyways, kind of leaning either a Volvo or a Freightliner.
Okay.
And but I've been looking on the truck paper, so I guess I got kind of rear end questions for you. The Volvos there's you can find with the 264s or 247s. Seems like there's plenty of those to pick from. Now I was looking at Snyder, and you can find them with the 215s, 228s, 247s, and I was just kind of so with that Volvo. Would I get as good a mileage with that as like a Detroit? Say the 247 the Volvo versus the.
Well, the one thing we've got to, it's not as easy as it used to be where we were just hyper focused on that rear end ratio. We do have other options now, and the big difference on the Volvo, when we're talking about the Volvo, if we want the best platform to downspeed and get the best fuel economy, we need the TC, the turbo compounding. So you've got to make sure you're looking at that. If we were to spec a non-turbo compounding, we would use different rear ends, and that might be some of what you're seeing. You're probably seeing a little of both. It's a little simpler with the Freightliner. We can they don't have two different versions like that really, so we can downspeed the Freightliner not quite as aggressively as we do the Volvo. I will say that in my opinion, based on everything I've seen and everything Joel's done, and we have Joel in the Volvo platform, Henry in the Freightliner platform, Jamie in the Mack platform. We've got Steve Crone with an old pre-emission truck getting 10 plus miles to the gallon. We're seeing a lot of, these builds where we've really optimized them, but I don't think you can beat the Volvo in fuel economy anymore. I think Freightliner's very close, but you can't quite downspeed it quite as much. We don't get that lower piston speed quite as much. Both of those are good. I think the Volvo's got the edge, though.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
now here would be a huge consideration because the fuel mileage difference is small. There are times where we may spec the Freightliner really well and get really good fuel economy, maybe even a little better than a Volvo, just depending on all the variables. It's close enough that either one will be fine, and this would be the determining factor for me. Which shop would my shop, which truck would they rather work on? So for me, being a really big fan of Pittsburgh Power, and they don't do much with the Volvo platform, I would lean towards Freightliner.
Yeah.
Even though I like the Volvo better, I would have to be able to find a really good Volvo shop that was convenient for me, either near home or near a lane that I travel a lot. And if I couldn't find a good Volvo shop that I really trusted on engine work, then I'd probably get the Freightliner.
Mm-hmm. Right. Another thing is, so 70,000 miles a year is probably all I'm going to put on truck, because I got other things I do too. It's just kind of
right. So that can change things. I mean, when we're talking about fuel economy, the less miles you drive, the less the fuel economy matters. I mean, it always matters.
Right.
But for example, it's almost embarrassing for me, because I've worked on fuel mileage for 30 plus years. It's almost embarrassing to me that my coach gets 6 miles to the gallon. And people say, well, why don't you do something? Why I have zero modifications for fuel economy. None. Because I don't drive enough miles. It just doesn't make sense for me to go spend a whole bunch of money when I'm only going to put 15,000 miles a year on a good year on this. Why would I go spend all that money? I would we always try to remind people, we are not after the highest fuel mileage we can get. We are, but it's not because we don't want to just say we get good fuel mileage. I want the lowest overall cost of operation. So if it costs me so much money to get 3 more tenths and I can never break even, well, I'm not going to go do that. And on my coach, that means almost none of the modifications we talk about are worth it, including like an OPS. I don't change my oil enough on this coach to even worry about an OPS. It wouldn't make sense. And I'm never going to wear out this engine. I mean, it's a C13. This thing's good for 1 million miles. I won't put 1 million miles on this coach in my lifetime.
Right. Now, there's a pretty good price difference between the Volvos and the Freightliners too. I've noticed that just looking on the truck paper, anyways.
It's tough sometimes to compare prices because you've got so many variables. But I would say that the Volvo probably carries a premium price these days on the secondary market.
Yeah. So, like in the Freightliner or the Detroit, there. Snyder's got quite a few to pick from. They got 228 rear ends or 215. Mm-hmm. Now, what would there be? How much difference would there be in the?
So one of the things I'm going to have you do is I want you to find some trucks, both Volvos and Freightliners, this week on the secondary market that you're interested in, and then call on Friday. And we can't just look at the rear end ratio. There's so many options on transmissions now that we've got a lot of different final gears we're looking at. And if I don't know that final gear, I can't tell you anything. The 240 something may have a different final gear than the higher gears they're running. So what I would have you do, again, find a couple trucks in each case that you're really interested in, get the specs, and then call on Friday, and we'll really take time to go through each one. And we'll spend more time on, yes, it's 70,000 miles a year. We got to take that into account. We'll talk about some of the other parts of your operation. I'm really liking the Friday show with all the experience we've got there. I've been doing fuel mileage for 30 plus years. Joel has just been doing it forever and is still heavily into it every day on the Volvo side. Henry's been doing this heavy on the Freightliner side. Alec is there with tons of experience on this and tracking. And that really is going to become our spec day. If you really want to get the best advice possible on specs, call us on Friday with all that experience.
Yeah, I tried to call in there on Friday, and they must have been stacked up a little bit because it kept on. It was busy when I called.
Fridays are getting pretty busy for that reason.
Sure. Yeah.
Here's the trick. I'll give you a trick that makes it really easy to get into our show. In fact, I guarantee you will get in if you do this. just call 5 minutes early. The phone lines are open.
Okay.
We haven't started the show yet. Nobody calls then. In fact, nobody usually calls until I finish my open and then say, I need some calls. That's usually when they light up.
Okay.
So if you call 5 minutes before or 2 minutes after, you're going to get through every day.
Sure. Okay. So I was leased on the Landstar, and which I can easily go back and lease onto them again. And I'm thinking that might. I've thought about getting my own authority, but I don't know.
I'll give you my advice
right now. It might be better.
I'll give you
better idea just to go back to Landstar.
I have a very strong opinion about this. And
okay.
Just so you know, I have no more official relationship with Landstar. That's sad. They were one of my first big partners way back in the 90s. I had a great relationship with them for years. When the whole Sirius thing happened, they canceled us. Haven't heard from them since. But it doesn't change my opinion of them. If I were only driving 70,000 miles a year, I wouldn't even consider my own authority. I would be at Landstar in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it is nice and easy.
It is. It is. Why would you want all those headaches of trying to find the brokers and building relationships and billing and all and the cost? The insurance is such a huge fixed cost now that on 70,000 miles, your insurance cost is going to be a big problem.
Yeah, I've looked into that.
It's going to eat up too much of your profit.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it's nice.
Low mileage
when
like
I
that.
got other things going on.
I'd just be at Landstar. Such a great deal.
Yeah, it's nice to come home and shut the key off, turn the key off, and not have to worry about anything else.
And just for the fun of it, tell them I sent you.
Yeah. I called them. Here a while ago and said I wanted to, get back on. They said no problem. Just gotta give them a call if I decide to do it. So,
excellent.
Yeah,
that would be my choice.
But yeah, that's kind of the way I was leaning. All right, Kevin. Well, I'll get some more information there, and then I'll call back on Friday.
Excellent. We'll talk to you then. Thanks for the call. Yeah, part of what we're doing here with our shows, the Power Hour, Rolling Toe, the Friday Technology and Efficiency Show, those are all questions I've answered for 20, 25, 30 years. But the experience that comes from Pittsburgh Power and Joel and Henry and the Beckett's, and they can answer questions in a way I can't and never will be able to on a lot of these things. So the beauty is we're bringing you the absolute best people to answer your questions, and our shows are getting much more formalized like that. Like I really want to do all of our specking calls on Fridays. And we can, really Tuesday's a great day to spec the older trucks. And not all the way back to non-electronic engines, but we can do that as well. I mean, we can help you with those on Tuesdays. All of the pre-emission and the early emission trucks. Friday's a better day on the new trucks. We just have much more real-world experience on the new trucks with the people we have on Fridays. So that's really kind of our model going forward. I will be a part of every show somewhat, but ultimately, these shows may kind of spin off and be their own shows, and I may not be on all the time. We'll see. Let's go to Ohio. Herschel, welcome.
Hey, Kevin, how are you, bud? God damn it, I did it again.
Of course you did. It's impossible not to.
Well, that guy that was talking about the Lone Star, he left out one important point.
What's that?
It is the queen of Let's Truck favorite truck. That's Lisa's favorite.
It is. She has loved that truck from the first time she saw it. Yeah.
That you should buy one instead of that big old coach.
Well, see, if they wouldn't have had that horrible Max Force engine when they first brought out the Lone Star, I may have considered it. I didn't really like it, but to me, I don't care what a truck looks like. I never have. And if Lisa liked it, I would have bought one if I could have spec'd one that I wanted, but they just had awful engine choices.
everybody I know around here, we all call it the Max Sparks.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Now we may, in the next year or two here, we may see a very impressive engine out of International. I'm hoping.
Well, that's not really from International, so don't give them too much credit.
Yeah, well, as long as I can get it in the International truck, that's all I would care about.
Yeah, you'll have a Scania, as they say over in Europe, I think.
Might be. I can't keep all that stuff straight anymore.
I think that's, it's the Scania S13.
Okay.
So do you have my oil sample?
I do.
Okay. You tell me what you want to know because you don't see it on the form.
All right, let me see. So 612,000 miles on the engine, 24, almost 25,000 on the oil, correct?
Yes.
Then the only other question I would have, it's NW30. What kind of oil? Not that it even matters.
That actually is that is the Mack oil because Mack Volvo dealers want to put it in.
That's fine.
And it is the BDS 4.5 semi-synthetic.
That's fine. The only question I would have is why are we even looking at this sample?
Well, because, you see, iron is 49. I do use the catalyst, so that's expected.
Right.
But the other one is the base is 3 point something. Don't I remember that you said base is okay down to like 2.5 or something?
Even 2. I mean, even at 2, we still have base left. As long as there is base left, it's neutralizing acid. If you ever got to 0, do you see the box just to the left of it that never has anything in it? So TBN stands for total base number.
Acid.
TAN stands for total acid number. As long as there's base, there won't be acid. If we allowed our base to drop to 0, then we would actually start to see a number in that acid number, and we would watch our wear metals go up because the acid will attack the metals. So we say 2, 2.5, just so you don't run all the way down to 0.
Okay.
But at 3.7, almost 4 after 25,000 miles, that tells me this engine is performing well. It's not creating a lot of acid. So that means it's got good clean combustion. And part of that is the catalyst.
This one is a 2018 VGT engine with the XE package 264 rear end, pulling 20-foot railroad container that is 10 feet behind the cab extenders.
Right.
Something like that.
Right.
So that's not too shabby. I'm at 8.
And more stop and go.
8.1. Yeah, most tanks I'm 8.1, 8.2, so not too shabby.
Excellent. Now, I think that's fantastic, and this oil sample just tells us it's tuned well, the catalyst is doing its job, and there's nothing to talk about in this oil sample.
Well, I mean, I know a lot of people go against the catalyst, but I've had this truck right at 1 year now, almost to the day, and so far, no emission indicators on the dash, nothing.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? We had the naysayers in the first year. Hell, I was a naysayer. I was the one that said, please don't bring me another fuel additive. I'm tired of testing them. They never seem to do much of anything. So I was kind of a naysayer the first year. We don't have many naysayers anymore. We have a lot of people who believe in it and not many people who don't anymore.
That's a good thing.
It's a very good thing, and it's working. So, I mean, we're seeing the results.
So I have my truck serviced at a garage that I have been going to for 15 years or more, and they've always done a good job. Well, this time on this engine, they screwed up. Well, first thing is they put 10-gallon in it, and I don't think any D13 holds 10-gallon. So I got a hold of my guy that I deal with at Volvo Mack. He told me it really should be 37 quarts. So 10-gallon, that's 3 quarts too much. That's not horrible.
Right.
But the ramping that they put it up on, because this sump on this pan is to the front, put it up so high, I don't think they got it drained because when I pulled the stick when I got it to the house, oh my God, this thing had at least 1.5 gallons too much.
Ooh.
So I drained it. Yeah, so I drained it down because, to go back up there and screw around, I dealt with it. I could do that.
Right.
But don't I remember that too much oil can really do a bunch of bad stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we blow out seals and
that's what I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to run a truck for long with too much oil. We don't want to run it at all if we can help it.
So needless to say, I drained out at least 1 gallon, I think closer to 2 of T5 Shell Rotella that they charged me $32 a gallon for.
Right.
I said, oh my God.
Right. All we can do is sit back and watch. More than likely, you're not going to have any problems. The problems usually come with extended running like that.
Well, I just drove it home.
Yeah, you should be
50
fine.
miles.
You should be fine.
And drained it down to where it ought to be. But it just amazes me. And today's Truckin' Bozo had a phrase that he used all the time: ignorance and apathy will kill this country. And boy, did he nail it.
He did.
I don't know, and I don't care. You pay for a job, and you still can't get it done right. It just blows me away.
And it gets worse and worse all the time. I mean, it really does. I am going to offer somewhat of a late apology. When I first started on Sirius, Dale and I did not get along. We bumped heads often back then, and it got ugly a couple times. I need to apologize. He was onto something else early, and I thought he was insane. I remember the day I think I was in my personal vehicle, and I was just listening to the show, and I heard him say this, and I thought, he's just gone off his rocker. But he had this figured out early, and I must not have been paying attention, or maybe I just wasn't in the right place. I don't know. But this goes way back. We're talking like 07, 08, when I was first on the air. And he got on this thing about somehow he tied the IRS into it. And I don't remember that. Maybe that's why I got really weird about it. But he was talking about all of these people who were living in the woods, these big camps of people living in the woods. And I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? He's insane. There aren't people. He was right. And we see it now. They came out of the woods. Now they live on sidewalks and in public parks and anywhere they feel like pitching a tent. But he was talking about that back in 07, 08. I thought he was crazy. I'm like, oh, sure, there are a couple people that might be out in the woods. But no, I think he had it right.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I miss him, no doubt about him and Bill Mack both.
Yeah.
And Bruce Williams.
Oh, yeah. I certainly miss Bruce Williams.
Whatever happened to the lady that did the trucking show on satellite? I want to say her name was Riley Gertz or something like that.
That one doesn't sound familiar. The one female that
the name up, but
the one female I'm very familiar with in trucking radio was Marcia Campbell.
That's Dave's girl.
Yeah, well, she had done her own thing. She had her own show over the years. She was referred to as America's trucking sweetheart, and then she was kind of on Dave's team, and I met her when I was, doing Dave's show, and then she went. She still may do some kind of country music Opryland show, I think.
And this other lady was on after Bruce Williams late at night.
I don't remember that.
At like 1 a.m. or something.
I don't remember
that. Yeah, she was on at like 1 a.m.
Huh.
Yeah, she was pretty good. I cannot think of her name.
Interesting.
All right, Kevin, I'll let you be.
All right. Talk to you soon. Let's go to Missouri this time. Dale, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. Ain't talked to you in a while. You do a lot of broth talking here and there.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to get more of the seafood part of eating clean. So I've started doing some call it pseudo Cajun cooking. So basically like what I did with family Saturday was I did like 6 pounds of snow crab and like 8 pounds of shrimp. And then I don't recall the people that grew the potatoes, but they range from the size of like a quarter down to maybe a nickel, and some of them are purple and some of them are yellow and some of them are kind of a brown.
Right.
Yeah. And then I did a couple onions and a whole ball of garlic and course, a stick of butter, and this was all in 4 gallons of water. And so I've been doing this in small batches for the wife and I hadn't done a bigger batch like that for like 14 people. But the broth off that, a lot of people think with a cat, they think a cat loves chickens. Well, they haven't been around a dog around fish.
Oh,
with a
yeah.
cat, dogs are worse. I know Diesel, your dog had a what do you call it? A crustacean, a shell, hard shell, something allergy.
No,
Shellfish?
not
Well, our
Diesel.
dogs don't.
I've never fed.
It was one of your dogs.
I've never fed any of my dogs any kind of shellfish after this occurred. This was a prior dog I had, and twice it happened bad.
Okay.
I thought I killed it. I mean, I was feeding it crab, and it loved it. And both times the next day, I thought the dog was going to die. It was so sick. It was bad.
Well, I have a Mastiff and a Black Bay. If you know, that's the dog that was Old Yellow was a Black Bay.
Okay.
So, anyways, anyhow, so I have all this broth, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, there's got to be a lot of nutrients in this. And what really made me think so is, I've got a Vac Master 215. Look this up. As much food prep as you do, they're a chamber sealer. They don't vacuum. You can seal a bag of water in this thing.
Yeah,
Phenomenal piece of equipment.
That is my next kitchen purchase. I need a chamber.
They're completely worth it.
Right.
They are completely worth it. They're very expensive, but the bags are cheap. A vacuum packer, the bags are just. It's like buying a copy machine. You buy the expensive copy machine, all your ink's cheap. You buy the cheap copy machine, and they rob you for the ink. It's however you want to pay them. You're going to pay them.
I was
to the
ready
deal.
to pull the trigger on one of these, and the reason I was going to do it was because it would allow me to use bags for canning instead of jars. And I thought, being able to can in a bag, like canning meat in a bag, would be really convenient for drivers and traveling and storage and all that instead of glass. So that's the only way you can do it. You have to have a chamber style sealer to use these bags. There's a name for the bags. I can't remember what they're called. But that you have to have a chamber machine to do it. The reason I didn't was I thought, wait a minute, what am I thinking? Why would I switch from glass to plastic and all these funky materials that I don't know? And yeah, it'd be more convenient, but I don't think I want to go down that road. So that's why I didn't get it.
Yeah. But back to the kind of the question, have you ever looked to see what that broth, the nutrient values of that? Because what I did is large dogs will stick a quarter cup of that broth in with their dry dog food, and we buy a very high-end dog food. Anyhow, when we'll mix it in there just to kind of moisten it up a little bit,
right.
And they're jumping up and down, their whole body's wagging. They are
now
flipped out to eat this stuff.
I will tell you what I will feed to Diesel and do it all the time is fish itself, just not shellfish. He loves sardines. He loves mackerel. He loves salmon. The only thing you do have to watch with dogs on salmon, don't feed them rare salmon. I eat most of my salmon rare. You shouldn't do that with dogs. Mm-hmm. It does need to be fully cooked if you're going to feed salmon. There is a bacteria that could be in there that doesn't hurt us, but it's really tough on dogs. So I just make sure I cook. I'll tell you what, one of his absolute favorite treats is if I go get a big, side of salmon, I will cook it with the skin on. I actually like the skin. I'll cook it with the skin on. When it's done, I'll take that whole piece of skin off and I'll put it in the oven on a sheet tray by itself and crisp it up. It comes out like the texture of a potato chip. And man, does he go nuts over that.
Yeah, I can see that.
And the skin is very nutritious. Now, to answer your question, what are the nutrition levels? Hell, we don't know. We don't know the nutrition levels of anything. All we do is use averages and our best guess at all this stuff. When you go in and you read that, beef has 37 milligrams of zinc or whatever. Well, does every piece of beef have 37? Of course not. How was the animal raised? There's so many variables in this that unless we tested everything, we'd have to test the batch today, and when we made another batch tomorrow, we'd have to test it again, or we'll never know what's in there. It's just our best guess.
Do you think it'd be somewhat nutritious? Do you think
it's
just
absolutely
the fish smell
nutritious. No, it's absolutely nutritious. Yeah, that's, the answer here is I don't care what the number might be. This is real food, and seafood has very unique nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Seafood has a lot of things we can't get anywhere else. Iodine, and there's some things that you only get from seafood.
Another thing that made me think this was the boy married this lady, this gal from Guatemala, and 98% of her family's been up here for quite a while. They came up here like they were supposed to,
Yeah.
And I've been to their house as cousins and all that. And family time to them they're such wonderful people to be around. Family time to them is like a religion.
Right.
It's every weekend. Whether they got a work detail going, the women get together when they cook. I mean, they've got 2 grills going, a smoker, and all 5 burners inside. It's like it is an operation.
Right.
And I love being around it. When they make tortillas, they actually make not only what's going in the tortilla, they make the tortilla on a flat iron.
Right.
I mean, they don't buy anything.
Right.
But ingredients. But anyhow, Christopher's wife, Angela, she wanted some of that broth. This was a new food to them. Cajun cooking wasn't a thing in Guatemala, I guess. But anyhow, so I bagged her up five quart bags of that. And I asked her, so what are you going to do with that? And she goes, I will soak my noodles in it. That's what she said.
Okay.
And I got thinking, I bet you that's actually pretty damn good for you for a seafood broth anyway.
Absolutely. Here's the other thing. I don't make much bone broth anymore because Lona Life's so convenient. But when I do make bone broth, if I have any kind of seafood scraps around, shrimp shells, crab shells, fish heads, fish bones, anything like that, and even if I'm making a beef stock, I'll throw all the seafood stuff in there with it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've made just straight seafood broths as well. If I have enough, seafood scraps, or when I was learning how to make bone broth, I would go to the fish market and ask for their heads and their carcasses, and I would make just seafood broth. But I have no problem throwing seafood parts into a beef broth.
What would you do with seafood broth? Like this here's a
drink
Cajun,
it.
But it's definitely, you smell it, it's safe. Oh, just use it for like a meal replacement type thing?
Drink it just like I drink beef, or I would cook with it too. If I had to claim a signature dish, I cook all kinds of stuff, but if I had to say what would be my signature dish, it would be cioppino. And cioppino is a seafood stew. It's a tomato-based broth with every kind of seafood you can imagine, and you just leave it all in the shell. You put clams and mussels in the shell, right in the soup. The crab legs will be in the shell. The shrimp will probably be in the shell. And then it's got this really deep, rich tomato broth with all that seafood in there. I would use that seafood
almost like
broth.
A seafood bisque?
Right. So typically, the base of the broth that I make this out of would be my tomato sauce from the garden. So it would start with tomato sauce. It's actually got a lot of butter, which is pretty unique in a soup or a broth like that. I put about a pound of butter in a big batch of this. And then I thin the tomato sauce out with clam juice. And then all the seafood goes in. But if I had seafood broth, I would be mixing the seafood broth, the bone broth, and the tomato sauce, and I would skip the clam juice.
Oh, by the way, speaking of, you struck a chord. I was making, cooking down, we was doing zucchini, basically zucchini lasagna with chicken, because my wife's got alpha-gal syndrome.
Okay.
She can handle a little bit of pork, and she can have the cheese, but other than that, she has to stay away from most meats. But I was cooking down the sauce, and I was looking up in my cupboard, and I seen flaxseed, and I was like, got an idea. So in, say, 2 standard-sized jars of sauce, Italian sauce.
Yeah.
I put a heaping tablespoon of flaxseed in there, and where that saved me almost an hour on the burner cooking it, reducing that sauce.
As it thickens up. Yeah.
It did. But
Right.
then on the side note, if you do that, if you're like me and you like that basil taste, you're going to have to add a little. We grow our own herbs in the windowsill. And nobody that does this, you just do it. I promise. It is phenomenally better. But yeah, you have to add a little bit more basil to have the same flavor. I don't know why, the chemistry behind it, but
Yeah.
you throw that flaxseed in there, but it'll take your basil, it'll knock your basil flavor down somewhat. You
Yeah,
throw
we
some
can
more in.
throw in
but
another
still,
handful. I will completely
Yeah,
agree
yeah.
with you on fresh herbs.
Yeah, it's another thing. A product I heard you talked about it, back on your Sirius FSM days. So I bought one. Absolutely love it. Is an Instant Pot.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
anybody that ever uses chicken broth at their house, especially if you can't find locally sourced chicken and you buy his chicken from the store, you throw 2 pounds of chicken in there and pressure cook that. And the broth that you're going to get, you'll never buy that Swanson's dirty dishwater looking stuff in a box ever again. I promise you.
That's right.
And the difference in flavor,
Oh yeah.
that's crazy. I love that Instant Pot. I got the Instant Pot Duo with the fryer lid on it.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's the air fryer and the other, but that's one appliance that actually never goes in the cupboard, and we use it that much.
Yeah, I have the
so
dual
you think,
the dual lid version too. There's the separate lid for pressure cooking, and then the lid that's attached flips down for air frying.
Yeah, see, I've got the air fryer and the other one with the basket and all that stuff, and yeah, but lovely appliance. But so you think this broth I have here? You think you guys just maybe use that for water, say, in your rice when you're
Oh, absolutely.
rice cooker?
That's another one,
appliance.
right?
Another
Yeah.
appliance. I love the rice cooker.
Now that's another good use of.
Just put it in there and just walk away.
I do eat rice. We haven't had rice in a month. I'll bet. No, for a while there, I was eating white rice every week, and enjoying it. And there's zero health downsides to it. So I guess I just haven't been thinking about it. We've been so busy. But I never ever make rice with water ever. It's always made with broth.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, beef broth, chicken broth. The Lona Life broth is fantastic for making rice.
Yeah. Have you heard of a product called parboiled rice? A friend of mine told me they have it at this one store.
Yeah.
And I guess they cook it a little bit with the husk on, and it gets all the nutrients.
Parboiled rice has been around longer than you and I.
Okay. Other than that, would you throw it in your rice cooker? The same process on my side.
What's the name? Uncle Ben's instant rice? Is that just what they call it? Instant rice, I think. Been around forever. That's all that is
Uncle
parboiled
Ben's?
rice. They just pre-cooked it.
Nutritionally, is it all?
Well, hold on. Here's the thing.
was telling me.
I do not eat rice for nutrition. White rice has very, very little nutrition in it. Now, if that's why they told us for years, oh, you should be eating brown rice now. Well, brown rice does have more nutrition, but it's also got a lot of downsides, a lot of proteins that don't interact with us well. Brown rice can be very high in arsenic, of all things. So white rice is almost like a completely different food. And what it is we've stripped everything off of it. There's almost no nutrition left. It's just starch. And that's why it doesn't really cause any problems. As long as you can handle that amount of starch and those carbs, there's really nothing else there. So I don't eat rice for its nutrition. I also no longer eat plants for their nutrition. All the studies, all the things, there's the anti-inflammatory, it's anti-this. I don't eat plants for their nutrition anymore. If I'm going to I get all the nutrition I need from animal products. I eat plants because I like them.
Right. Oh, another thing, I run into a deal of locally sourced grown rabbits. They were New Zealand meat rabbits.
Yeah.
And I made one over rice. I baked one, and this gal, she's phenomenal. They're clean, killed, and dressed. Mm-hmm. And I work with her husband, so he'll actually bring them to me.
Oh, nice.
For $15 per rabbit.
How much do they weigh?
Yeah. So ready to. Oh God, they're. I think they was 10 pounds.
Oh man,
it's way better than buying chicken.
That's cheap.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing.
man.
I went ahead and took a fillet knife. It's actually a boning knife, and I've kind of filleted the meat off the ribs, and I cut the loins and the back straps off them, and then quartered them up like a chicken. The front legs are smaller, so I left that rib meat kind of flap on there with that.
Yeah.
And I breaded them with a little bit of Cajun fish breading, so it's real thin layer, real light duty stuff. No egg bath or nothing. Skillet fried them in a half Evo and half coconut oil. That was literally the best fried thing I've ever ate in my life.
I'll bet. I would try that with not panko. I'm sorry. I would try that with pork rinds. Do the same thing. Grind up pork rinds. Yeah, grind up pork rinds. Coat that the same way. Fry those up. I will tell you, when it comes to taste, rabbit might be my favorite. I love the taste of rabbit. It's very, very lean, though. You have to make sure you eat a lot of fat with it.
Yeah, well, I did the olive oil. You can get a little of that nutty flavor, so I just did half and half coconut and olive oil.
Yep,
and it just blended well together. It was fabulous. But if anybody's ever thinking, "Ooh, rabbit," if I fixed you rabbit and I didn't tell you what it was, when you ate it, you'd be like, "That is the best damn chicken I've ever ate in my life." I promise.
I know this is going to sound weird. And I think it's always weird when we describe savory foods as being sweet, but sometimes they have a sweetness level. And I think that's what it is with rabbit. You're right. Yeah. Rabbit is very similar to chicken, except it's sweet. And I know that sounds weird, and it's not sweet like you're thinking, but it's sweeter.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm not a sweets guy. Like hardly, I don't put sugar in anything.
Right. Me either. Right.
About the only time I'll cook sugar, sugar would be like if I'm making a chili, just to cut the acid a little bit. But I found if you use more like a V8 blend juice instead of just tomatoes, you're just bringing more flavors to the table and less acidic. So then you don't have to put less sugar in.
You want to know what?
I like to cook.
If your chili is too acidic. I have an awesome hack for that. It makes the best chili. Put in some pumpkin.
What's that?
Canned pumpkin.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
Try that.
I'll try that.
Yeah, don't put sugar in your chili. Try.
Would you put one? Would you put one small can of pumpkin or one regular standard issue can?
One small can.
Corn can.
Probably one small can.
Okay.
I would start with one small can and see how you like it. But it makes it deeper and richer and thicker, and it cuts out the acidity without really making it sweet. My chili there's actually two kind of secret ingredients, and I guess they're not secret if I keep telling everybody, but pumpkin and chipotle.
Right.
Those two things go in my chili, and it's
pepper fan.
Really good.
Okay, so one final thing I'd like to ask you. When I make jambalaya, I make my own roux, and it's like a 4 or 5 hour deal for me to make a jambalaya because I tried to do it very authentic, but no speedy deal. But I've always historically used brown rice because of the length of time cooking. They stay together. They don't mush out on you. But is there a white rice that would be comparable cooking wise that would hang around better and not go to mush?
No, you just put it in last.
Okay.
Yeah, you just put it in way, way, way at the end of the cooking time.
Oh, and then, okay. That would make sense.
On my initial cook, if I'm going to put rice into a soup or stew like that, on the initial cook, I'll actually leave the rice a little al dente.
That way it can finish in there and absorb some of that flavor.
Right.
I'll give you two cooking hacks. You shared two with me. When you're making your rice, say if you're going to do a jambalaya and you're going to have shrimp in it and all that, take your shrimp tails off and throw them in the water and boil them, and then strain them out, and then make your rice in that water. You'll be amazed at the flavor, the aroma that you get from just the tails and cases in there.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's a great
flavor
idea.
that you're keeping.
Yep.
And then, what was the other one? There's another one I wanted to tell you. I lost it.
You'll think of it as soon as you hang up.
With that. Yep. All right, man.
All right. Good talking to you.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye. Let's go to, we got about 15 minutes left. Let's go to California. Tom, welcome.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Good. Nothing. Had to go to LA today. It's crazy. You know, that's crazy. But now, explain this to me. So it's like 7:45. You assume these people that are driving like they have to get their kitten to the vet, have to go to work at 8, right? So there's this traffic. Then it's 8:30. Still same amount of traffic. People driving like crazy. Well, you assume, well, maybe they have to be to work at 9. And then 9:15, you know, and they're like, these people don't have to be working at 10 o'clock in the morning. I just never understood where all these people coming from and where the hell are they going? You know, are they all late? Is everybody just late?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Yeah. Hey, so we were talking about censorship and Big Brother earlier, and I've been with this company a little more than 6 years now, and I had to do one drug test when I started, and I didn't do any other drug tests. And then me and my buddy got to talking, and he's smoking pot and worried about if he's going to get pinched. So I'm Googling it, you know, how long does marijuana stay in your hair, you know, and sure enough, bam, I get pulled in for a random. Okay, that's cool, whatever. And then I was searching something else. Well, so anyway, I was on Google searching these things, and then they had psychedelic mushrooms that are in vogue now for post-traumatic stress and all that, and Googling that. So since January, I've been pulled in 4 times for a random drug, no accidents, no tickets, no nothing, you know. 4 times, and now it's almost a game for me because I told my boss, I go, random my ass. You know what I mean? There's just, this is crazy. This is crazy. He said, this has never happened before. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm like, so now I just fuck with them, and I Google, well, how long does acid stay in your, you know what I mean? Now I'm just to see if I get pulled in again. And watch. Next little roundabout, Tom's going to get pulled in. I guarantee you. So
yeah.
Don't think that anything you do online is private, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so, you know how they have like Plush Care, the teledoctor, where you do the video chat, of course?
Yeah.
I thought a great idea would be to do that, but just have functional medicine doctors, on your, you know, instead of regular doctors, just functional medicine doctors. I think that might be a pretty good hit. My niece is going to go to the National University of Natural Medicine. I don't know where that is exactly, and probably up there in Portland, but who knows. And get her naturopathic medicine and a master's in Eastern nutrition. It's going to take her, I don't know, it's like being a regular doctor. It's like, 8-9 years or something like that. So I think more people are getting into the naturopathic medicine,
trying
to get away from all the drugs.
The other confusing thing, if we look at conventional medicine, virtually everything is controlled by the AMA, the American Medical Association. They set all the guidelines. They set all these lab values we talk about. They're the ones, you know, suing doctors if they don't prescribe statins when your cholesterol's over a certain number. It's very, very consistent because the AMA controls it all. And what we really mean is Big Pharma controls it all. And it's very consistent. Everybody marches to the beat of the same drummer. In the holistic health world, it couldn't be more different. We are all over the board. You have to be careful. There are designations out there that I'm not all that impressed with at all. And they claim to be holistic or naturopathic or functional or, there is no one functional medicine. You know, there's the International Functional Medicine Association. That's kind of the big one, but it's not all that big, really. You have people like Chris Kresser who teach a functional medicine program, and you can go on to become licensed. My son is actually building his own program with a doctor. They will teach nutrition and blood work to people. So the functional, holistic, natural health world is very fragmented and all over the place.
Yeah, that needs to come under sort of a one umbrella, but then it gets so political and stuff. Hey, well, I appreciate it. My load is I'm finally unloaded. So thank you very much, and have a good day.
You're welcome. Have a great afternoon yourself. Let's go to Florida, and it looks like this is going to be our final call of the day. So, Nick, you get the last word. Good morning.
Hey, how are you now?
Good. Just as good. Actually, better than when I started.
Good. Hey, off the wall question for you. You guys were talking about dogs earlier, and obviously you're big on canine. I'm assuming you're feeding your dog a raw diet or no?
Yeah. Yep. Raw meat and organs.
Okay. I just curious as to, I've never done that before, and I've got an English lab, and he's about 10 pounds overweight, and I wanted to start him on a raw. I just wanted to see if you could give some advice on that.
I do raw frozen because it's convenient. I can't even remember the brand we use. We've been using it so long. There's several on the market. As a matter of fact, last night, because we stayed out here, we didn't have as usual raw frozen, so we got some Stella and Chewy's, which is virtually the same stuff. So it's raw frozen, and then I'll feed him whatever meat or eggs or sardines I might be eating as well. But he gets the raw frozen every night. He gets a little bit of a really clean, natural kibble, and mostly we put that in his food ball, and he likes to play with it to get the kibble out. So he does get a little bit of that, but it's clean and grain-free. His dinner every night is just the raw frozen, and then anytime we're eating and we feel like feeding him, we'll give him whatever we're eating because it's always healthy anyway. His absolute favorite, I will tell you, his absolute favorite, him and I are very similar. He loves chicken wings.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So do I.
Me too.
Yeah. I was looking at some of those online frozen come in the mail things, and I mean, geez, oh man, this one company I was looking at, it was going to be over $400 a month. And I did like the math, like
no way,
like 2 pounds a day. 2 pounds a day, and it was going to be like $7 a pound or something. I forget what the math was, but it was really high. And I'm like, well, I can go to the grocery store and hand select stuff and do it that way instead. But
here's what I would do if cost is. I don't know what we pay for ours. I don't pay attention. I'm sure it's not that much a month. I'm sure it's not even close to that. But I don't pay attention to what the cost is, so I don't know. Lisa would be able to tell you. If cost is a concern, just feed him meat.
Yeah. No, that's what I planned on doing. Like just on the grocery store and picking out whatever's like
whatever you're eating,
sale and whatnot.
I mean, you should be eating a lot of meat.
Well, I'm not going to give my dog. I'm not giving my dog ribeye.
Ribeye.
Full, and I just.
Well, ribeye's not that big of a deal to give the dog. You give some ribeye scraps, the bone, let him chew on the bone. It's cheaper than a lot of this high-end dog food.
Yeah. I was just looking at.
And here's something else.
I bought was like $17.
Here's something else. I've been meaning to mention this, and I don't know if I've said this or not. I got thinking about what cuts of meat should be the healthiest. And clearly we know organs, but we're not going to eat organs every day, and you shouldn't. There's no reason to eat liver every day. Liver a couple times a week is plenty. But the most nutritious cut is ground beef.
Right.
We think, the ribeye has to be more nutritious. Well, why? It's not. The ground beef, we get the same muscle meat. We get more fat typically in ground beef, which is a good thing. And they typically throw in a lot of scraps, gristle and sinew and cartilage. Yep. And now we know we should be eating that stuff. And that goes into the ground beef.
Right.
So I think ground meats are most nutritious, and they're typically the cheapest.
Right. Yeah. So maybe just find a bunch of hamburger on sale.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know. It's funny. You see all these We Feed Raw programs, and they got blueberries and green beans and this and that. And I'm like, just like you with the carnivore, it's like, look at our ancestors. We didn't eat that crap. And, you know, bears eat berries when they go into hibernation to put weight on. Why do I want my dog to eat stuff, you know, blueberries and stuff like that if I'm trying to get him to lose weight? So.
The food I have has a minimal amount of that stuff in there. It does have some. I'm not convinced it really adds to anything. I'm not convinced that it hurts them either. And I will say, very natural behavior. Diesel loves berries. Diesel eats raspberries and strawberries right off the bush.
Right.
So I think there is a natural tendency for dogs, and I bet wolves probably did it at times as well. It's certainly not a big part of their diet, but the fact that they will naturally eat them right off the bush probably tells us that they do it in the wild too.
Okay. Well, that's a good point. So, okay, great. How can I get a hold of Lisa to find out what you are using? Just curious. It might be a better option than what I'm trying to do.
She was just texting me, so if she's still paying attention, she might be able to tell me right now. Let me ask her. And I can't talk and type at the same time, so.
Yep.
Diesel's dog food. So I don't have a bag here. I would grab one. I can see it in my mind, and I can't. We've been using it so long, I don't even know what the name is anymore.
Right. Yeah, that one I was looking at, I think it's called We Feed Raw, and I saw on their thing it was like $40-something a week, and then I got reading further, and I'm like, it was just a promotion for 2 weeks, and then it went back up to like $110 a week. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So
that sounds crazy. Like I said, I don't know what the cost of a bag is. We have 2 bags that just show up on a subscription, and it's just about perfect. We usually have 1 bag behind all the time, and we've always got 2, and it just shows up and we feed him the same amount every night. I've never calculated what the cost is, but I don't think it's anywhere near that.
Right. Okay. All right. So yeah, I just kind of started listening to you a couple months ago and just went on carnivore about 2 months ago. I had high blood pressure and started doing a bunch of what you're preaching as far as Cardio Miracle and carnivore, and I ordered one of your X3 bars. Haven't been home to get it yet, but my blood pressure's been kind of all over the place. But I am seeing some progress. Today was the best day the best reading I've had so far is 117/77, which I'm ecstatic about.
That is fantastic. Yeah, that's a good sign. I will tell you that one of the most stubborn biomarkers sometimes can be high blood pressure. We do get some people who eat really clean, and just the eating alone doesn't do it. Usually adding the Cardio Miracle puts them over the top and gets down to the numbers we want. But occasionally, I've also got to work with somebody on stress.
Right. And I think that's what my deficiency is on the stress. I mean, I've been doing this. I'm only about 20 pounds overweight, or was only 20 pounds overweight. And I've been doing this here for about 2 months, and I've only probably lost 5 or 6 pounds, which I thought I would be 20 pounds down by now. But it's going really slow for me this time around. I've been pretty darn religious. One thing I was eating that I didn't realize was so high in carbs was pistachios. I'll go down the road and be just feeding on pistachios. So
and
I've cut those out.
Those are those kind of snack foods that if you have them handy, you will overeat them every time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was eating pretty much a pretty good sized bag every day.
So a couple things that could have caused some issues. The stress. If we think your blood pressure was stubborn because of the stress will really affect weight loss.
Right. Okay. All right.
But the fact that you just got a reading of 117/77 is outstanding.
Yeah, that's the best one yet, and that was just this morning. So
excellent.
I started checking my ketone levels, and the best I've got so far was 0.9, and I've only checked it probably 4 times. I've had 2.9s, so I think I'm getting there.
Have you tried our Brain Octane?
I'm using the Bullet MCT oil. Is that what you're talking about, or no?
So the Bulletproof is the brand. They make MCT oil and they make Brain Octane. So here's the difference.
Okay.
All of these oils come from coconut. MCT oils are very popular. There's a lot of MCT oils on the market. An MCT oil could be all 4 of the fats from coconut oil. It will probably be a combination of just C10 and C12. So, or maybe even C8 and C10. So there's 4 fats in coconut oil, C6, C8, C10, and C12. And it's based on the number of bonds. The lower the number, the faster and better they will produce ketones. So C6 would be our best option for producing a lot of ketones fast. But from what I gather, I've never tried it because I've never even seen it, but I guess it tastes bad, like really bad. And then the funny thing is the next one that would be the next best, C8, has no taste whatsoever. It is one of the most neutral oils I have ever tasted, just nothing. And that's what Brain Octane is. Brain Octane is pure C8. The MCT is C8 and C10. So if you want to produce the most ketones fast, you would use the Brain Octane. My guess is if you got up and did like 2 tablespoons of Brain Octane in the morning, whether it was on your coffee or something else, you would see that number jump up to probably about 1.5.
Okay. I'll do that. Yeah. Yeah. Right now I'm using the bullet in my coffee with some butter and a little splash of cream. And, I'll give that a try. I just placed a big order from you guys about, I don't know, a week and a half ago or so.
Thank you.
Broth and a bunch of your products. Light Balance and all kinds of good stuff.
Appreciate
Monkey Brittle and so yes sir, I appreciate all you're doing too. This channel's really educated me big time, and it's invaluable for sure. So
excellent.
Very good.
All right, we will look forward to talking to you again soon. We're going to wrap this up. We went the full 3 hours today on a Monday. It's good stuff. All right, what's going on the rest of the week? I think it's pretty normal. I don't think we have any guests this week. We might have something on Wednesday. I'm not sure. The rest of the week should be pretty normal. I do not think we're going to get to any spaces this week. Just have way too much stuff I need to spend time on. If I do get some free time, maybe we'll jump in for a quick one. No promises. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the Power Hour. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.